How about now? Check.
You're metering in console over there, if that means anything.
We should be okay now. Can you guys hear us
Can
now?
you guys hear us now? All right, Robbie
There we
Timms. Level okay? You guys can hear us? Great. Okay. Awesome. Well, since nobody heard anything that I just said, let's start over. Great having you guys. It's great to be here. We've got my good buddy Michael Pope here. Michael is a great guitar player. I first was made aware of him when he was playing with this band called Bethel Music, I guess, back in a few years ago. And I was learning a bunch of his parts when I was playing a church gig. Fast forward here, my good buddy Ren, who I met shortly after moving to Nashville, introduced us. And so we've become good buddies. We live down the road from each other, and he was generous enough to hop on the live stream with us tonight. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely. And Ren, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're a very talented guy.
Oh, man. Thanks. So
I didn't have time to prepare a bio for you, so you're going to have to tell everybody who you are.
That's fine. I've been rehearsing this my whole life. I'm finally the center of attention. I've been dreaming about this moment. No, Mike and I lived in Reading together and did some playing up there. I moved back to Nashville around 2013. Started doing live and touring work pretty immediately. Went on the road with big machine artist Danielle Bradbury. Since then, I've played on a bunch of like Americana stuff for Scott Mulvihill, Liz Longley. Last month with this guy named Ty Verdes, who's like a up and coming TikTok artist. So
cool. Right.
It just goes all over the place. So still honored to be in a room with these legends because they're all just freakish players, you know.
Ren is a badass guitar player. Don't let us humility fool you. And
the baddest of the bad.
The baddest of the bad. And bass player, but most of all, great singer and songwriter. Ren is super talented. Check out his music on Spotify. Go to it's under Ren, right?
Under just Ren, yeah. RENN.
Yeah, great stuff.
Not as cool as Adele, but single name, giving it a try.
Yeah. Is this gonna auto scroll for me? Okay, cool. Robbie Timms, smash that like button if you guys are you guys are enjoying what's going on here and getting some value out of it. It really helps us if you smash that like button and if you like and share this stuff on whatever your preferred social media platform of choice is. Also, we're joined by the legendary Shawn Tubbs over here.
What's up, everybody?
I think he needs no introduction, but
definitely not at this point.
I don't think so.
Nobody cares.
Shawn,
everybody cares. That's why everybody's here.
I think Shawn might be the most terrifying guitar player in all of Nashville. It's a lot.
Can you guys see me shaking on this side of this?
Yeah.
You guys are crazy. No, that's just all the alcohol.
Let's see what's Anthony saying. I mean, I'm not enjoying it yet, but I do expect this to be a good time. Derek said, Derek is. I feel like that might be in response to something else, but maybe we'll try to make sure you enjoy it, Anthony.
Okay, so gear and beer. What's everybody drinking? Oh, this is Sierra Nevada Summer Break.
Awesome.
I wanted to give a tip of the hats in Northern California where Mike and I met.
Let's go.
I got a Montucky Cold Snack.
I'm with you.
Nice, light, easy drinker. Because somebody's got to be responsible here.
Yeah, I'm not being responsible. Kentucky Bourbon Ale. That's been my standby now.
Yeah.
Who makes that one?
Standard.
Derek says we're drinking water.
All right.
Straight.
Get out of here.
Kentucky makes it.
Yeah, Kentucky makes it. Yeah. I don't know who makes it.
That says the guy who
is
drinks the
Kentucky,
shandy.
yeah.
All right.
Cool.
It says I'm drinking the water. What are you guys drinking at home? I want to see. What are you guys drinking? Oh, Anthony says you said smash the like button if I'm enjoying the content. And with that chuckle, I am now enjoying it. Yeah. Awesome. Nice. America beer is water, Derek says. Again, I referenced the fact that you drink shandies. And so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But you're also my boss, so I can't tease you too bad about that.
No, those suck. Those are terrible.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to kind of give I think a lot of the typical Revv community may not be familiar with Michael and maybe the style of music that he represents and the stuff that he plays. Rattlers, that's right. Oh yeah, I got it wrong.
Oh,
Rattler.
the Rattlers.
What's the difference between a shandy and a rattler? Anybody know?
I think shanty is a traditional pirate song.
I thought
Maybe
it was
that's a shanty.
A sea shanty.
A shanty.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't that a dance or something? Then a
Yeah, I
rattler
think
is
it
a
is.
snake.
I don't know
Yeah,
what a
rattler
shanty is.
definitely is.
I've never had a shanty. I have had a rattler, but if a rattler is a shanty, then I guess I've had a shandy.
I guess so. Does anybody know? American beer, Are You Crazy? That's by Gigalax? No. Giax?
What a name.
Gigalax.
Gigalax? That's great.
What is this, Dr. Seuss?
Dope.
Gigalax.
Ooh.
That's not your name. We just butchered your name, bro.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. G.
I'm gonna guess it's GX or something
We
with
call it G.
extra.
So
letter.
BMO's drinking Adelphi Cool Isla 8-year-old lager black. Back
Ooh,
or black? Back.
nice.
That sounds like
That
a fancy beer.
That sounds like my kind of beer.
awesome.
Fancy.
Chlorine juice.
Or-
Terrible Ligo de Mal says chlorine juice. The government calls it drinking water. Huh. Oh, drinking water. Got it. Chlorine juice.
Thought maybe he was in a swimming pool. It's hot out there.
Yeah, I would envy you. It's been nuts hot here in Nashville. All the guys can attest to it. It's been not only hot but thunderstorms and crazy humid.
Yeah, it's been humid.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for the tornado weather to start kicking back into.
Yeah. It's coming. Have you been riding your bicycle in this weather?
I have been remarkably. Yeah.
You've been cycling
Oh yeah.
in this economy? I just been waiting to try to work that in. I forced it. Sorry.
That's great.
With this kind of inflation, you've been cycling.
So
It's worse trying to cycle with deflation.
yeah.
I was gonna
that
say,
makes
what
it
kind of
tough.
pressure are you running in those tires, man?
Is it higher pressure than like a car tire?
Yeah, it's 110 pounds.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because a car's like what, 35,
30.
40?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, here we go. BMO whiskey, 56.6 ABV.
Ooh,
Beer
real
is
man.
5. So I think he's just saying that he's
Oh.
more of a man than us,
Yeah.
which, probably true.
Depends on which whiskey.
You missed the memo though. It's gear and beer.
It's gear and beer,
Oh,
not
no,
gear
you
and
can,
whiskey.
bourbon's
Yeah.
fine. Bourbon is fine.
Well, yours
Yeah,
is
that's
in a
like-
in a
Mine's
beer.
carbonated, so it's
Mm.
okay.
I've seen him drink bourbon on gear and beer before. I
Oh,
think it's happened
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It has happened on occasion.
on occasion. He's been known to do such a thing.
Been known to.
Clearly, he's more of a man than you. Well, yeah. Thank you, Derek. Any chance you get, you'll point that out. Appreciate that. So, Mike, let's hear a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
For the people that don't know, who may not be familiar with your illustrious career
Oh God. Okay.
as it stands so far. I kind of already mentioned that I first kind of was aware of your playing when I started to have to learn your parts.
Yeah.
Playing at a church gig, and so I was learning all those Bethel songs and stuff like that, and really actually enjoyed it. It was really fun for me because I was used to at that time, as a lot of people probably know, a lot of church music was like basically play with like the Edge, use dotted eighth delays with a really pretty, glassy, voxy kind of a tone. And then I started learning Bethel, so I was like, oh, these are some angry guitars. Like, this
We
is
did
kind
a
of fun.
We did a lot of that just with a little more reverb. But no, I mean, we all like that stuff too. I'm a huge Edge fan. But I think just the group of people that were there, and the timing of it, like we were listening to a lot of bands like The National and Beach House. Everyone was like mega into Radiohead and just stuff that's a little more involved in playing. Bobby, the other guitar player there that, he and I wrote a lot of the guitar parts. We were always more interested in let's come up with two parts that work together, as opposed to the traditional, you do rhythm, you do lead kind of a thing. So, I guess maybe from that perspective, it was a little bit different than, what some other guys were doing. And we were also, at that point kind of new in it. We were young and kind of champing at the bit just to let's make music, let's have fun, let's go crazy. And so that's what we would do. We'd go nuts in a studio all day on a couple of songs, and then the label guys would come and say, all right, let's simplify it and make it
Rein you back in.
yeah, they rein us
Sounds like
in
you
and
guys had fun.
yeah, man. Yeah, many fist fights and verbal lashings later, a record comes out and, they started doing well and then doing better and better and better. And now they're kind of a household name in the genre. So
Yeah. And you were part of building that. I mean, you were kind of there from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
How did that all go down?
Man, I went to Reading really as a way to like get out of the small town I was in. Like I was never like I always played music in church because I grew up going to church. And in a small town, it's like there wasn't some blues jam or some country jam. There wasn't like a studio to like try to intern at. Like the only way period to play music with people was just church. And so, yeah, it was kind of like a way out of my small town to go to Reading and do this like ministry school. And I kind of looked at it as like, I'm going to do this for a year. I wasn't even planning on like auditioning for like school bands, which is like where Ren and I met. Like, I was like, I'm going to go like figure out if I even believe in all this stuff for a year. And then I'm going to move to LA or New York and, start sinning and be in a band and try to play cool guy music. And then things just like totally changed, like early Bethel days was like a really special time. And for anyone familiar with church music, it's like for a long time, there was kind of like two main brands of it. You had this like really polished, produced, kind of CCM thing. And then you had this like really spontaneous, like free flow in the moment kind of music that like sounded so bad no one ever wanted to listen to it.
but if you were there,
if you were there in the room, it was amazing to be a part of, and like the energy and just the response from people in the room and the connection between like the musicians and the people in the crowd. It was just like two very different things. And Bethel was kind of the first place, and they started before I was there. I just again hopped in at kind of the right time and position. They really kind of took the best of both of those worlds and said, hey, like, let's actually like write a song. Let's properly engineer our records. Let's play through good gear and try to get good tones. But then like we need everybody to be like able to play anything at, the drop of a hat. So, it ended up just kind of being that. And that's really what you do end up hearing on the records. Some things are a little more fine-tuned, and obviously what makes sense on a record is a little different than what makes sense like in a room.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really what they did. They just tried to capture that, capture those moments as best they could and put them on records for people. And that's what we did. And I was just lucky enough to get involved, like kind of, they were traveling and doing trips, and playing at a lot of different churches. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, well now we're playing like venues and multiple churches are coming out, and then it's like Nashville connections happen, and it grows just like anything else.
So since this live stream, almost said podcast, since this live stream is called Gear and Beer, what did the gear look like in the early days, and how did it change like over the course of your time there?
It didn't change a ton over the course of my time there, to be honest. It's like I was always an AC30 guy. So that was going on. I used you remember 65 amps?
Oh yeah.
Remember those things?
Yeah.
That's what you had when I met you.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
Peter Stroud was part of it.
Yeah.
Was it Dan Bull?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Big Peter Stroud fan. And a lot of guitar. I mean, we were just talking about Drew Shirley.
Yeah.
Drew was playing those amps, and
that's right. Yeah.
And you're seeing them.
What happened to those guys? I never even see them around.
Jimmy was playing those with Carrie Underwood too.
65.
Yeah. Jimmy Herman.
Yeah, they made like the London and
that's
what you played.
That's what I had. Yeah, man, that was like the first like real boutique nice piece of gear that I ever.
Did they go out of business? Are they still making amps? I don't see them.
They are. I haven't seen them around in a long time. I was really into them, and then I noticed they were like being sold at Guitar Center, and I was like, whoa, like when did they go from like this little LA shop to now you can buy one at a Guitar Center or something? Like that's amazing. But yeah, so I used one of those for all, but it was basically just like an AC30 and a Fender of some kind for amps. Pedals were just like all the Strymon stuff because that's what was like new and hot at the time.
Wait, pause. What was the pedal that you had painted over and scribbled the words Holy Spirit on your pedal?
Oh yeah, the good old Boss RV5.
The RV5.
The Holy Spirit tone.
Yeah,
you want the Holy Spirit, you turn on the modulated reverb.
That was the joke there, man. It's like you want more, you want more of the Lord, you just turn up
Turn
the
up
reverb.
the
Yeah.
RV5.
That's
Yeah.
universal
Anthony says, I mean, the
spiritual
cliche worship gear is cliche for a reason because it sounds good.
Yeah,
quality.
No one's trying to copy shitty tone. Agreed.
it's and the thing with those pedals too. It's
Except
like,
for dudes trying to still chasing Steve Vai tones.
I don't know, man. His tone's
Hey,
pretty sexy.
Sean
It's
Tubbs
pretty
is right here, guys.
Oh, come on, man.
You can nail it if you want to.
And Robbie says, guitar shop I worked at sold 65 amps, and I was so jealous when people bought them. LMAO, they were so good, but way out of my range as a 17-year-old student. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I bought mine when I was 17, but I worked like some miserable construction job for a long time and saved my pennies so I could be just like Drew Shirley and Keith Urban.
And
Yep.
you were also playing like a parts caster at the time, right? A little black.
No, that was just well, I guess it was kind of a parts caster. It was, a little made in Mexico Fender with, Lawlers in it and Emerson harness. And
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
so what year would this have been? Like
this would have been
2010 -ish?
like 2010, 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think that was that long ago. Like,
Dude, it's weird to think. Yeah.
so did you miss the
11 years ago.
DL4 days, or were you?
Oh, no.
You were in.
I started playing guitar when I was 3, and then like basically from the time I was like probably 10 till now, it's just like every pedal under the sun. Like I had the DL4 for a long time, the DD20.
I mean, because there was
and
a
then it
time
went to
when
the time factor,
Yeah,
right? And then
yeah.
timeline
Time
took
Factor,
over for a
yes.
long time.
the Eventide, right?
Yeah.
The DL4 was so ubiquitous when I first
Mhm.
started becoming aware of pedals and like building tone and started playing a church gig. I was like, there just wasn't anybody that I would ever meet or see
Yeah.
who didn't have a DL4.
Oh,
on their
dude,
board.
everybody had it. Literally every guitar player had it. I think I sold mine right before I got to Bethel for the time factor because the guys there were using that. And so it was like, well, I guess if I'm here and I'm playing music with them now, I should probably use something.
Well,
Similar.
but the hip thing was to have them all modified, like it was like
JV3,
yeah,
JV3,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because mine
wasn't
were
that
all
cool.
mine were all modded by him, and so that was the thing. It's like, did you need to do that? Probably not, but
But
it's
it,
just what you did.
but it was
Yeah.
way cooler
Yeah,
if you
it was
did.
so much cooler.
Mine ended up getting modded by TSA. They broke the knob.
Oh,
no.
you got that TSA
Made it-
mod.
made it
dude.
less
That's my
accessible,
favorite
Those
one.
are-
It made you more creative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know Saul Littlefield, the session guy in town?
Yeah.
He still says he uses the low res delay from the DL4 like way more than almost anything else.
There's nothing.
Still
He
sounds
might have been
good.
lying to me, but
No, I did. What was it? Wasn't the no? It was. I think it was the Blown Away tour. Like I had my, and all joking aside, like those mods were killer. Like especially Jack Vaughn's mods were amazing, and it basically just made everything sound more silky,
Mhm.
and everything just sounded better. But yeah, the low res delay
That's because it stayed out of the way because it was
Yes.
so dark.
Just the way it kind of just disappeared.
Mhm.
Um,
But just gave you that little.
it just was there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I loved it. So yeah, DL4 don't they have like a new one now?
Yeah, the DL.
They're reissuing.
What's it
it.
called?
It's-
Is it
I think
DL5
it's
Mark II?
I
bigger.
think it's still a
It
DL4.
looks bigger
I,
than the
I
other
don't.
one.
I
Is
actually
it
think
bigger?
it's smaller than it looks. Like if you see it on a
Yeah.
board, it's actually
Okay.
small. Hey, Rob, Sean, I was going to tell you, who was it? Oh, Andy Bunger was saying that he said, Sean, finally put a tilt on my big board with a Spaceman Explorer phaser.
Yeah.
Nasty
nice.
tones.
Oh, right on, man. I'm glad you dig it, man. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, and we also missed a bunch. Oh yeah, Andy. He also shouted out the DD20, which I actually still have a DD20 on my board. I love that pedal.
They're great.
20s are
It's great.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with boss pedals, man.
Let's see.
Nope.
This guy says, guys, for a long time I used PC speaker and I wrote Marshall with a marker on it. Then I used the Zoom and I used the Zoom 606.
Nice, man.
That sounds like something I would try now.
Mhm.
Just out of
Anthony-
Yeah.
fun, you know. You know what amp I just bought? And I had no intention.
Ooh,
Of
Naked HD,
buying
the
it.
cheapest
You
date.
guys know those PV Decades?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
those are cool.
So it's like
Yeah.
the for a long time it was like the secret Queens of the Stone Age amp.
Yes.
And then some YouTube guy put out a video on it and the prices went up. I was helping my buddy Dan move a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago. And this it was last minute here in Nashville. Nashville's really expensive for those of you that don't know. And so he was like, help me move, like we got to do this quick because the storage place is up in Madison. And I don't want anyone to say, well, anyway, this like sketchy lady comes up. She's like, hey, any of you guys musicians? We're like, yeah. She's like, want to buy a PV? I was like, does it say decade on it? She's like, I don't know. Let me look. yeah, sure does.
No way.
I was like, what do you want
What?
for it? She's like, $50. I was like, okay. Like, and I didn't know what they were going for at the time. Like God is my witness. Did not know what they're going for. Dug through my pockets. I was like, I don't have any cash. And one of the guys helping us move was like, I got 25 in cash. That's all I got on me. And so I told her, I was like, hey, like I could do 25. That's all the cash I have on me. She wanted cash. And she's like, nah, I'll sell it for 40 on the internet. Came back later, right as we were leaving. She's like, all right, I'll do 25. I'll do 25. And she's like, I don't even know if it's working. I was like, sold. Do you know what those things are going for in Reverb right now?
No.
The cheap ones are like $400 or $500.
No way.
And like nicer ones are like, some guys have, I mean, they'll never get it, but they're listed for like $1,000.
Yeah, reverbs.
Yikes.
I mean, used gear in general has been insane the last like year.
I'll
to
never
two.
sell it because I'm a huge Queens of the Stone Age
Yeah.
fan.
Oh no,
But-
you should hang on to that.
Oh man, that's my latest.
Man, that's
purchase
a
there,
good
man.
steal.
Very excited
That's
about
awesome.
it. Yeah.
Anybody
That's
out there
fun.
have any good gear steal stories? Doesn't have to be that recent. Just
Yeah.
like, found it, my uncle had a vintage Strat under the bed
Oh,
or
God.
whatever. I've heard some of these stories. I had a buddy in California who worked for a moving company, and he would go to people's houses and do
Yeah.
quotes, look at all their stuff and kind of estimate and do, quotes for people. And he found an old vintage P bass,
Oh, sick.
I think it was actually out early 70s. It wasn't anything like super valuable, but he was able to get it for
Yeah,
a steal.
Very cool.
yeah, I got like that.
Derek says someone borrowed my DL 4 years ago and never brought it back.
Oh, sad.
I love that pedal. That is sad. That's why Derek is so stingy with lending on his pedals now. Except for I do have your Echoplex, Derek. Oops.
Ooh.
What PV again? PV Decade, right?
Yeah, it's the Decade. It's the overpriced one on Reverb.
Yeah, nice. Derek bought a Lucille for $900.
That's
Wow.
cool.
Okay.
Where'd you
That's
buy
cool.
that? That's a great deal.
That guitar, that's a good guitar. I played that one last time I was out there.
Mm.
It's a good one.
I'm ashamed to admit I got a good deal yesterday. You guys know what the Fender Road Worn series is?
Yeah.
So there was a Fender Road Worn jazz bass, and the guy had mislabeled it, didn't know what it was, and put Nordstrand pickups in it, like the noiseless
Yeah.
$300 upgrade.
Okay.
And I feel guilty even saying this online, but he only wanted $600 for it.
Wow.
And I went to go pick it up, and apparently he had just been inundated with messages from everyone in Nashville who knew what it was. And I just kind of hinted to him, I was like, yeah, you probably should have sold this for more money. But he was just smiling, and he looked back at me. He's like, yeah. He's like, I got it all for free. So thanks, Billy
Yeah,
from
sure.
Band of Horses. That's
Wow, man.
that's who got me that deal.
He was
Wow.
paying it forward.
Yep. That's awesome.
Wow.
Paying it forward. Oh, Derek got the Lucille in Edmonton.
Okay.
This guy said, Robbie says, I inherited an 84 Ibanez AH10 from my uncle, and they now go for like $3,000. I guess you could call that a steal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mega steal.
Nice.
Alex Kelly, overpriced PV on Reverb. You mean the 5150 block letter?
Wow.
David says $43.50 for a dual bucker guitar with a neck break, a night and clamps, and it's good to go. Hey,
Okay.
$43.50.
Handy guy.
Down to the cent.
Yeah, man.
Nice.
Handy guy if you can fix that. That's
Yeah,
cool. I wish I could do that stuff. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
I do
Just
too.
Work
I-
on guitars all the
Mhm.
time.
Be more handy with that stuff.
Yeah.
I've got some buddies. Well, it pays to have friends that know how to do that stuff.
I need to introduce you to Casey from Veritas.
Yeah.
Still.
I'd love to do
Because
that.
he just builds guitars all day. That's like my dream job.
Yeah,
I
That
can't
would be
play them
pretty
all day.
cool.
I want to build them all day.
Mhm.
yeah. So let's go back to the story here. So you're
Sure.
playing Bethel.
Mm-hmm.
That is good, Ren. That is a good
It's
beer.
really good beer.
You're playing at Bethel.
NorCal.
You did that for how long?
8, 9 years, something
8,
like
9
that. Yeah, from I guess 2010 to like end of summer 2018.
And
Basically.
you would have been there when the Paradise or when all the fires were happening up there.
So
right?
I quit right, but the very last thing I did there, every summer they would do this like 2-week long worship school, and it's like the most hectic, busy, but it's also super fun because you just get to like someone like me, you get paid to hang out with a bunch of like musicians and
Mhm.
stuff all day and talk music and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. So that was like the last thing I did. Like I went on all the tours and stuff up to that point and then was done.
Mhm.
Played my last set there And then like a week after that, or 2 weeks or something like that, was the car fire that came
That was the
through.
big one. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was one of the
oh,
biggest
gosh.
wildfires in California history, right?
I think
The
so.
car one.
There's been so many over there
Forgot
since
about that
then.
one.
It's like I don't know where it ranks on the list of them, but yeah, it was brutal, dude. Like we got a call from our friends who lived out in a little place called Whiskey Town, and they were evacuating from their house at like 4 a.m, and so we kind of just like packed up our houses and went downtown, hunkered down at the studio for the day, and just kind of like prayed that the fire didn't like start moving towards town. Then at the end of the day, it did move towards town, and we were very lucky. Like we didn't have our houses burned down or anything, but that fire is why I'm here in Nashville, and the fact that my wife was born and raised here. We were gonna stay out there for a while still, even though I wasn't doing Bethel stuff. It's like you can do sessions from anywhere these days. So we were gonna stay out there longer, and then town burned down, and our landlords were like, well, we're never gonna get this much for this house again, so you guys got 60 days to be out. And I was like, well, I guess we're moving to Nashville, because a crack house in Redding is now $4 or $5 grand a month.
Jeez.
Insurance companies and FEMA were paying everybody's rent, and then we moved to Nashville and be like, well, this is same price here, so yay.
Yeah, it's getting more expensive here for
It
sure.
is.
Yeah.
So what are you doing these days? You're not involved. You're not really doing a whole lot with Bethel anymore. But
Right.
what are you working on?
I've mostly just been doing sessions out of my house. Man, like after it's like I leave Bethel, which was a major life change for me. And I had a business called Thunderbird Studio that I started with a couple good friends of mine. And so we were just like producing records for people. It was like a private studio production house kind of thing. And so we were doing that. And then the fire happened. We all, for different and similar reasons, decided we're moving to Nashville. Get to Nashville, get a little studio space here in the east side of town set up. We worked through most of that first year we're here. At this point, we're all just like burned out, blown out, like so done with just everything, right? And then we start getting into this year. And at that point, I was like, working with Thunderbird, and then just when I wasn't doing that, I was doing sessions just around town, either from my studio or at a producer's house or down in Bear Hill or like wherever. Just like, I want to be home. I don't want to be traveling all the time.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm doing now. I'm going to try to be a Nashville session guy along with the rest of town. And then like shortly into that, it's like I finally get the ball rolling with that, because that takes just getting that ball rolling here is hard enough.
Takes a minute.
And so I finally get that ball rolling, and then COVID-19 happens, and all of that work goes away. A lot of it didn't come back. Some of it did. And I mean, I was very lucky to have the work that I did have during that, like 2-year period. So there's that. And then throughout this whole time, I mean, we've talked about this a lot. I've been like renovating a house. And because COVID, I was basically doing it myself with, only like hiring out for like the things that I couldn't do for code or just don't have the skill. So the last 8 months, I've actually taken off. I like got off social media. I got off, booking sessions and all of that. I was like, I just need to finish this house and get this done. And so like, honestly, like as of this week, I'm just starting to like book stuff again. I got my little studio 90%, set up in the house. And so I'm just kind of jumping back into the swing of things, but it's like balancing like being a new dad, sessions, the house, and then like this post-COVID world was just like crazy on my brain. And it's like, I definitely needed some time to like get my head right too. After
it's a lot of change.
After
That's
all
a lot
of
of
that,
change in a
man.
few years. Like
That's
fleeing a fire and then surviving a pandemic. I mean, you've kind of
a tornado.
A
East
tornado,
Nashville.
that's right. Yeah.
You got here for that. Huh?
Yeah. I need to not be near you when natural disasters strike.
I messed up in quitting Bethel Music, because like then all this like calamity happens. So
God's just trying to strike you dead now.
better call him and go back. Appease the Instagram followers. Call him and go back. Nah, but I mean, it's been a good time, but it's definitely been weird. Lots of ups and downs, lots of hard things to go through for sure. But I mean, that's been a lot of musicians right now, and
That's life, man.
certainly had it easier than many others. So I can't complain. And it was nice to take a break and be a East Nashville construction dad for a long time. And now I'm going to try and jump back into being an East Nashville guitar dad.
Yeah, nice.
So, yeah, man.
Well, that's awesome, man. We had a few comments come in while you were talking about
Yeah,
it. We got some more good deals, some more steals here. We got Mitch Fraser. I got a mini crankhead for $150 because it had a foot switch issue. New cable, good to go.
Those are the Dimebag amps, right?
Did Dimebag? I thought he was a Randall guy.
He was like early on. He was
Early
a Randall
on,
guy.
but I think it was.
He got
Was
into
it? Did he
crank.
get into crank?
Crank was what he was.
Crank
what
with a
he was into.
K.
Not gonna lie, I really want one of those like legit old like black and blue lightning bolt Dean guitars.
Yes.
That's like on the dream list.
My buddy
for
Don
me.
has one. Derek said I also bought 14 pedals from this guy off Kijiji for $340. It had an original Rat, a Boss
Oh,
tremolo, a
sick.
phaser, a blues driver, a fuzz, a crybaby, and a big muff and some other stuff.
Nice.
Dang, that's crazy.
Big Rat guy, man.
When was
Props to
that,
you.
Derek?
That's
Jeez.
awesome.
Nothing wrong with the
Big Rat
Squire.
guy.
Yeah, true.
There is
Derek
one-
says smash that. He's coaching me on how to do a live stream, which is I need all the help I can get. Smash that like button for us and hit subscribe. Thanks, Derek. Seems like a lot of work to move to Vegas and even places like Orlando. Does Nashville remain the long-term musical powerhouse? I'm going to let Rand answer
Ooh,
this since
yeah.
he's the person who's probably lived in that. Well, I guess Sean's lived here longer, but
That's really a good question. I mean, there's a ton of music that happens in Nashville. It's like it's probably the way to go for live work if you want to like tour with artists or tour with bands. I would say that Nashville is always going to be a hub for that. If you like, regular gigging venues at the same bar, you can go to New York, you can go to Orlando, you can go to Miami. You can gig professionally and full time at a lot of major cities, I think. But I think it's easier to get a job with a touring artist through Nashville just because there's so much touring activity through here.
Yep.
And then obviously with the session world stuff, it takes a long time of making the connections and people knowing who you are and then needing what you do.
Yeah.
And that can happen really anywhere. I mean, Mike was like such a legend for his work out in Reading, and everybody, knows the parts that he creates because he's such a musical guy. And he's also,
Thanks,
dude, you're such an amazing guitar player. So he can handle anything asked of him. And you got to spend a lot of time, showing people that you can handle anything thrown at you. And then they've got to tell all their friends about it. And there's this organic thing that happens in Nashville because so many people know each other that it's almost like there are more dots to connect and more dots that can connect more quickly in terms of providing you opportunities to work. So
especially when you meet somebody like Ren who knows everybody.
oh man, you guys
Ren's the reason I know Mike.
Yeah,
so
dude.
I want to tell him about how Travis and I met. I had just gotten a puppy. This dog was like 8 weeks old, right?
Oh, he was tiny.
This little like potato of a creature was at my feet, and I was at a coffee shop.
Golden Retriever.
It was a golden retriever. And then these a lady and her daughter come out and they just collapse to pet my puppy. And it was Travis's wife and daughter. And I just started talking to him because if you own a golden retriever, you have to talk to everybody. Anyway,
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
I like to blame the fact that I do know quite a lot of people in town on that dog because that dog wants to be pet by everybody. He'll walk up to anybody. And these hilarious connections happen just as a result of people wanting to pet my dog. So thanks, Simba. You made a good connection with these two.
Yeah, go follow Simba on Instagram.
Simba likes you. Is his
That's
Instagram.
hard.
At Simba likes you. Yeah, Simba's awesome. Anthony Best wants to know why isn't Shawn wearing his own tilt hat? Well, do you see that beautiful hair?
I've never received a tilt hat, but yeah,
Whoa.
I'm not going to hide this mane.
Look
I
at
mean,
that.
come
Beautiful,
on, that's
man.
like a Pantene commercial
There
over
you
there.
go.
How's
Oh,
that?
yeah, the flip, man.
I'm clearly
No, I don't have
compensating
one.
with this beautiful hat.
Yeah,
so.
me too. Bald guys over here on this side of the screen. Derek was answering us it was like 7-8 years ago. The fuzz is that boss fuzz that's stupid expensive now. I don't know which one that is.
Which one is that?
Boss fuzz. Hyper fuzz? No, that's not
Mhm.
expensive, is it?
I feel like the only boss fuzz I've seen lately is that one they made look like an old tone bender.
Yeah.
Seen that?
Oh
one on
yeah,
social
that one's like those go for big money, thousands of dollars, right?
media? Really?
I think so.
Oh wow.
The Wazacraft tone bender
Well, I
thing.
was going to say, isn't there a Waza version?
That's the
of it?
one, yeah.
I don't know anything about it. Yeah.
Robbie was supporting you, Sean. He says, because that's like wearing your own merch to a gig. It's true. Yeah, it's like, would I wear? Yeah, I don't know if I would. Don't know your neighbors.
Nah, I don't wear it. I don't have one.
And then Robbie says, "Wait, but does that mean that he can't even put his own pedal on his board then?" No, that's
Oh, that's a
different.
good
That's
point.
different.
No,
That's different.
That would be completely different.
Who out there has who out there has a tilt? You have a tilt?
I have a tilt.
Do you have a tilt?
I've got one.
You got one?
Yeah,
Cool. I got one.
I use it.
Mine's been on my board since I've had it. It's been on for a couple of months, and it's like become my main drive
Really?
for sure.
Oh man.
Yep. And actually, the boost side of it, the way I run my D20 is like the boost side of it is my first stage of gain, and it just kind of wakes up the amp, and then everything else kind of adds on top of that.
The boost side is what caught me, man. The top end on that boost side sounds so good, especially like I've been really into P90s lately, like middle position P90s kind of stuff.
Yeah, let's go.
And so like having that kind of top end to like kind of combat the like low mid woofy thing.
Yes.
Oh, it like just enhances all that sparkle and just makes it so fun, man.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that was the whole idea.
Yeah, there you
behind
go.
That was
There
to
you go.
like,
This
you know,
has been a fun one lately.
what is that?
Tell us about this guitar, Mike.
Well, anyone who is familiar with the Bethel music stuff knows I've had a long relationship with a company called Veritas Guitars. Around the time Bethel music started getting a little more popular, we had a lot of like custom guitar companies reaching out, sending stuff out, and so we tried like everything, and for the most part, it was just like this is like a Fender that somebody like parted together. Like I can do this, you know, between like a, you know, any Fender that's out there and eBay, right?
Right.
And so I met Casey through a couple of through actually Bobby Stern and Chris Greeley, who is the other guitar player and the engineer. They had moved from Portland, Oregon, and that's where Casey was based for a long time. And so he just like we were recording record one day, a live record, and he was like, well, hey, like let me just bring a bunch of guitars down for you guys, and like if you like them, cool. If you don't like them, you don't got to play them. But I'll tech for you guys the whole live record for free. Just like the sweetest, most like servant-hearted dude. And he brought all these guitars down, and they just ruled. Like we dug them, and so I've kind of been working with him ever since. And yeah, this is just
So it's kind of like a junior-y kind of a vibe.
yeah. He unfortunately
yellow.
this is not a model that he makes anymore. I think he got an angry email from our friends here in Nashville, but you know, but yeah, it's a fun guitar, kind of a I call it the junior
Tone
special.
Pros?
No, this is actually a Reading guy, Schroeder.
Oh,
Jason
Schroeder
Schroeder.
hardware.
Jason Schroeder.
Yeah.
He does great
Yeah,
stuff.
he's I know I've known about his hardware forever, but I looked him up because like the original bridge on this one was fine, but it didn't quite have enough mass to sound awesome. It's like a lot of them are like hollowed out underneath. So I was like, I should put a Schroeder bridge on this thing, and I looked him up. I was like, you're like 10 minutes down the street from me, dude.
That's awesome.
So yeah, he his wife actually notched the bridge on this guitar, and yeah, so it's just I mean it's all mahogany, kind of a TV yellow thing. You probably can't tell on the camera there, but it's this open grain satin finish, so there's no like grain filler on it.
Yeah, it reminds me.
Yeah,
I used to
that's
work. I
great.
used to work for Soar Guitars, and
Yeah.
we had a modern satin thing that was kind of like this, where you could feel the grain
Yeah.
through it. That's kind of cool.
So it's just like really thin paint, and like you can really like feel this guitar kind of like breathe.
I was gonna say, it lets
When you
it
play it.
shake, you know.
Yeah.
What P90s?
The P90s are actually ones that Casey makes. He got into
Oh.
winding pickups a while ago. And I'll be honest, man, I was like, okay, like you can build a guitar, but like pickups, like that's a
Leave
different
that
thing,
to the
man.
professionals. Yeah,
That's a different thing. And man, I really dig these P90s. You know, like a lot of newer P90s do this like honky thing that I don't love. Which I mean that can be cool, but these have a little bit of that, but they're angry like a P90 should be.
Yeah.
And they have a little bit more of an open kind of ring to them.
and you were saying that the boost side of the tilt likes these.
yeah,
pickups.
middle position on these pickups, like with the boost and the tilt through like any Fender Marshall Vox, like clean amp, like whatever, like pushed clean sound kind of thing, you know, is just like my jam.
That's
right
awesome.
now. So yeah, I've been digging this guitar. I've had it for a little while. I played it a fair bit on tour, like the last couple tours I did with Bethel Music. The first guitar I ever built for me was like a gold top copy, because all the gold tops I ever fell in love with I could never afford. So
Wow. Yeah.
he built me a great gold top copy, and then this guitar was actually a dealer guitar that he ended up getting out of dealers and had it, and so he sent it my way, and I was like, dude, this thing's amazing. So
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I'd always heard about it. I've never seen one
Yeah.
like in person, but
Yeah.
they're very cool.
that's fun. The only thing that throws people off sometimes is the necks are a little wider.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Does
Yeah,
it do,
yeah.
What is
Yeah.
the nut? Is the nut like a
I don't know
687?
anything about that kind of stuff.
it seems like it's wider than that.
It's wider than 687.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Like if you pick up a SG or Les Paul Special or something, it's wider.
It's wider.
It's different, but you know,
but it's like I don't feel like I can. It doesn't feel like it's a struggle to like get my thumb over the top, because that's usually for me. It's like if I can't do this,
Mm-hmm.
I panic.
Yeah.
So it's just cool. It's loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Wow.
it's that he some of the guitars from him, it's like, and I should probably say too, it's like I don't really typically care about like weight on guitar. I've played heavy guitars that I love. I played light guitars that I love.
Mm-hmm.
So I just try to find stuff that like rings and sounds
Yes.
good
I agree with you. on that.
acoustically. And I feel like that guitar is, for me, it's got that
Mhm.
kind of property to it. So.
Yeah, it's loud and resonates. I mean, it's not like super light, but it's not
Yeah.
heavy either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice guitar.
Nice.
Nice little in between there.
Dig it.
Yeah, man.
Derek says it was the Hyper Fuzz.
Ooh.
Hyper fuzz. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never played a Hyper Fuzz, but I would love to play a pedal that says Hyper on it.
Heck yeah. Henry Velasquez or Henri Velasquez says Pope the Master. Pope is
Oh,
legit one of
thanks,
the
man.
last Jedi Master out there.
Nice.
That's nice of you.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of Jedis out there. Certainly more masterful than I, but
There's-
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're all, learning from each other at the end of the day, right?
Robbie says he hasn't got one. He's probably the only one here who hasn't got one, but he needs to. Absolutely, you do, man. It's a great Swiss Army knife of a pedal. It can solve a lot of problems. I really like the other way I've been using it too is like I'll set the gain for a nice like Telly bridge pickup thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then if I go to like a neck P90, then I can set the boost where it's not really boosting all that much, but it's just carving out a little low end and
sure.
giving a little more sparkle to make the neck pickup speak, because otherwise it would be a little bit,
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
more of a tone scope. Yeah, I trip out on different ways the guys use them, because I've got a friend that uses a Bradshaw CAE3 preamp,
Mhm.
Okay.
and those things like deadly clean to like medium to like this high gain modern thing, and
Yeah.
and the way he uses it is he's got his dead clean, and then he uses the drive side of the tilt for his between the crazy clean and his second channel, and then he pushes the second channel with the boost.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and
That's
then he
very
leaves
cool.
the third channel alone. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's it's been really cool to hear how all these cats are using.
Yeah, everybody kind of seems to have their own different way
Yeah.
of it's cool.
Yeah.
Like the way you use it is different than the way I use it. You know what I mean? It's cool.
Yeah.
Juan says hi from Mexico.
Oh,
What's
nice.
up, Juan?
Hey, Juan.
Schroeder. Oh yeah, Derek was saying he's got a Schroeder bridge on his Telly he loves.
Yeah, man, they're
Oh,
killer.
that's
Anthony says
he
Schroeder
does
makes
on
dope
On
stuff.
that blues band one. Or
He
not
makes
blues
great
band, on the
Guitars as well.
It's,
You ever play one of the guitars that he's built? They're very good.
I've always wanted to play one. I've never tried one.
Robbie says I can't place my finger on it, but that guitar looks like if PRS were to make a junior.
Okay.
But first glance,
Yellow Sky.
Actually, first glance to me is Collins. Like,
Yellow
Oh,
Sky.
sure. Yeah.
Collins,
Yellow
yeah.
Sky. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, Yellow Sky.
Yellow Sky. Henry says, Pope, where's the Telecaster?
It's at home, I didn't want to be that guy. I mean, this is Nashville. It's
Roll
like,
up
rule
with
number
like
one, bring
9
it to me,
guitars to the
right?
live stream.
Yeah.
Does Pope still have the sparkly boots?
Yeah, I do.
Ollie?
And funny story, my family was very mad at me because I was just out of town in Oklahoma City, where I grew up. I was there for my wife's cousin's wedding, and he married a girl from India, and so her family is like super traditional, and they have like all the amazing like dresses, and they wear the saris, and like it's just like the most amazing like sparkly gold colorful like wedding, and they're like, you got to bring those boots. I have these like shiny gold retarded boots that are really fun, and I wore them one time for a award show
Yeah.
thing, Instagram had a day with that.
Had a field day with it.
Yeah.
You can't do anything fun anymore without.
I didn't wear them though. I wore my snakeskin ones instead. I hadn't worn those in a minute, man.
Robbie says, Shawn, there was a setting on the green channel on the generator that you mentioned was plexi-like, and I can't find where you mentioned it. Do you remember what the settings were?
Yeah, Robbie, just run the bass almost off to taste, and then use the bright switch on the green channel, and push the channel output, and you should get pretty close.
There you go. You heard from the master. I thought you were gonna like get a treble on 6.5.
No, it's
Middle
all
one?
the taste. Yeah, the big one. I think the mistake everybody makes when I shouldn't say everybody, but it's a common mistake when you're trying to get a plexi sound. The 9 times out of 10, it's the reason you're not getting the mid bark is because you're running the bass too hot. Most of those great plexi tones didn't have a ton of low end.
Yeah, those
And
old
those
Marshalls,
guys,
they're pretty
they
lean.
rolled the low out of them.
I was gonna say that was the old Marshall trick: is you dime every knob except for the bass all the way off.
Yeah.
Crack it open.
Yeah. So that's really it. And then the rest of it's honestly to taste. You can get a plexi character without it being like an exact, plexi thing.
Pete says, watching from the Philippines. What's up, Pete?
Oh, nice.
Anthony says the only problem is that I think he's talking about the tilt, is that it doesn't solve sucking a guitar. The tone is great, but I still suck. Well,
I don't know, man.
I don't think so,
mine in,
bro.
I play exactly like Shawn now. So
I
got my money's
I
worth.
plug it in. I start playing all these cool outside lines that are like really sophisticated. It's awesome.
You mean you start playing everything wrong like I do?
What kind of P90s does he have on Veritas? I think we talked about that already.
Yeah, they're Casey wines them. I couldn't tell you really anything about them other than I like the sound of them. So sorry.
Are they hotter though? They don't seem like they'd be.
They're not
right?
particularly hot, but they're not. They're just kind of like straight up middle of the road,
Okay. Yeah.
They'll get the D20 breaking up a little bit, but they're clean enough to still kind of have that like stringy kind of thing.
Woodiness. And
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Nice.
Robbie says, Anthony, you can improve. I think he's talking about his comment on his sucks. He says, with musician, you can.
Man, those ads
Well
kill
placed
me.
ads. Yeah. Oh, God.
Oh, they kill me.
Yeah. Anthony said at first thought, I thought it was at Callings. Robbie says, yeah. Thanks. You just killed my Marshall SV20 gas.
Nice.
What's the nicest acoustic you've played?
Oh man.
I'll go first on that. It's probably the same one for you. Well, I don't know, maybe. Your McAllister's amazing, but probably Bukovec's Bone D28.
Oh yeah,
It's 19. Is it 38?
I
I
don't.
think it's 38. It's definitely pre-war. I think it's a 1938 D28.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the
I
match
can't
same year 38 triple O, right? Triple O 28. He's got two guitars the same year.
Man, he goes. I don't know if he even still has it because every time I go over there, he's
I
throwing
think
something different.
Yeah, I think he still got it. Yeah.
So
I think he still has it.
Derek says 38. Can confirm. So Derek, Shawn, and I went over to Book's house. Ren actually was the person who introduced me via text to
Where's my phone
Bukovec. Yeah.
Sorry.
And if you don't know, Tom Bukovec's a great, one of the very top shelf session guys in Nashville and has been for the last 20 years.
Yeah. Nobody plays like Tom.
Yeah, he's an incredible musician and a total gear hound, knows a lot about
man.
vintage gear, and has probably owned, more than the four of us combined easily.
Oh,
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's talking about. But anyway, we went over there because Derek was buying an old Super that he was selling, Super Reverb. And of course, being the gear hound he is, he can't have a bunch of guitar guys in his house without bringing in the procession
He
of
can't
amazing
have a single guy. in his
Yeah,
house.
no, he's got to bring them out. So he starts bringing out all these guitars and showing us, oh, what do you think of this? And the one that most importantly, Bukovec was filling in heart. Okay.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah.
And
He
Wilson
and I,
on
we
that.
both
went to
saw.
that,
We both saw him play with Ann Wilson. It was incredible at Basement East. Anyway, yeah. So he's bringing all his guitars, old Tellys, old Les Pauls, a bunch of stuff. I mean, and a pretty incredible burst Les Paul, like a 58. That was incredible. But the 38 D28 was unlike anything I'd ever played before. The depth of the sound, the way that it just, it resonated. You could just feel so much dynamic in
in the way that guitar responded, and there was so much richness in every note. It was truly like,
It's one of those guitars I would consider a heartbreaking guitar.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was like you don't want to
The
stop
second
playing.
The first chord I played on, I was like, oh, this
Oh,
thing's
man.
heartbreaking.
Oh, no.
Well,
Oh,
I'll
no.
never be happy with anything
Yeah.
else now.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
man.
Cool. Well, I guess I'll go back to playing my Taylor now. Nothing wrong with Taylors.
But no, I mean that's vintage guitars. I mean the heartbreaker. Well, it's a heartbreaker because it went away, but then things got better. The nicest acoustic the first just absolutely brilliant acoustic I ever owned was an Olsen,
Yeah.
Those
and
are
I
great.
bought it in '91.
That's the James Taylor guitar, right?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah. Those are amazing.
yeah. I bought that in '91, and I got it. I had ordered one, and I was on the "You'll never live long enough to get this guitar" list. But at the time, those guitars could be had for around $3,000.
Wow.
But you just had to wait a long time. You know?
Yeah. Wow.
And what happened with this one, and I'd love to find out who has this thing because it was never fixed. But the way I got mine faster is
All right, internet. You got to put your sleuthing
you'll
hats
probably
on.
Find it.
James Olsen had dropped basically a tool onto the top of a guitar for another customer. Didn't go all the way through, but he ended up basically not doweling it all the way out. But he had to take basically from the sound hole cutout, he had to take that and veneer it in over and repair the dent.
Wow.
Of course, the customer didn't want it.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, you can get this thing in about 6 weeks if you want it, and I'll discount it a little bit." And I was like, "Yes,
Sold.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that was my cedar top Olsen that I had for years, and things went kind of south, and I ended up having to sell it, and kind of heartbreaking. Absolutely gorgeous guitar, but then I ended up, and I don't need to tell the whole story, but I ended up with this guitar that's amazing, built by a guy named Roy McAllister. And
Oh, come on. Tell the story. It's a good story.
But that guitar made me miss the Olsen less because it's just an absolutely remarkable guitar that I did not have to pay for, which is insane because those guitars are not cheap. But yeah, Roy McAllister builds an absolutely brilliant. If you don't want to get an old guitar like an old pre-war Martin, Roy builds great stuff. I mean, Olsen's, good Lord, what are they, $30,000 now? If you don't want to wait around for one, if you find the right Olsen.
Nuts.
But yeah, for me, Roy McAllister. But yeah, that I ended up with that guitar just through massive blessing. And
Wow.
you played that one.
I have. It's incredible.
Thing,
It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
It's a good one.
I can't believe you're not telling this story. You're the humblest guy ever. If that was my story, I would be telling it right now. But it's not my story, so I won't tell it. But it does involve him being given the guitar by David Crosby. But I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to tell the story.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a few comments here that are pretty awesome. Sorry, Sean, I told your story. I've been debating trying to find a nice acoustic. Yeah, man, me too. It's hard, especially because the good ones are so expensive usually.
Man, find. I'm honestly not kidding. Find a John Mayer signature Martin.
Yeah.
Those are good. I
Those are
in
one of the
corner
best.
music.
Like, I don't know if you can say bang for your buck,
Yeah.
but in acoustic lane.
I like that. I like that. Is that a triple O?
It's a triple.
Yeah, that's a good size because I feel like it can hold up to some strumming, but it also feels good to like finger pick on.
Yeah. Because when I got the Kerry gig, I owned my McAllister, and there was not a snowball's chance I was going to take that thing anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I technically didn't own a guitar I could tour with, and I ended up with a Mayer signature. I got it from a place called Cave Creek Guitars.
Mm-hmm.
Never even played one in Arizona, and I was like, this thing is remarkable. Like, this is a really good guitar. And I ended up using that with Kerry. And now any chance I get when someone says, hey, I'm looking for a used Martin guitar, I'm like, man. And the Clapton's the same.
Yeah.
Either find a Clapton or a Mayer,
Those are
and you're good to go.
Yeah.
And they're still not ridiculously priced. And they're really good guitars.
compared to what you can spend on an
Absolutely, yeah.
acoustic.
Really good guitars.
Okay, there's a couple other things in here I wanted to talk about. Tone is butter. Have any of you guys played a Novo guitar? Thoughts? I have a Novo Cirrus J with Lawler P90s, fantastic guitar. Yes, I have. I agree, they're amazing. I was just at Novo last week, and they do make some of the
What's-
best guitars. They're here in town.
What's the hollow one called? Because that's the one I'm crazy about. It starts with an M, right?
Mirus. I think.
Mirus, is that
I think
what
it's
it is?
the Mirus, yeah.
Yeah, I've played those. I mean, I've played
The one with the F hole.
Yeah, I basically played all of them, but those are the ones that are kind of the standouts for me. It's like, wow. But yeah, Nova builds fabulous stuff. Of course, Dennis Fallon.
He's such a monster builder.
They have a newish model that looks like a cross between a Firebird and an SG. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, yeah.
That's what you're talking about.
Volter.
Yeah.
The short scale. It's,
Wow, I
it's
wanna see
Gibson
that.
scale.
It looks sick.
It does. It almost looks like the Ibanez Iceman. Like there's a little bit of that like in there.
Sure.
To me, I love it.
Ooh, I'm gonna look that up.
Henry asks Pope, if you were only to have 3 drive/preamp pedals, what would they be?
Ooh, 3 drives.
You knew it was
preamps.
coming. You knew it was coming.
I mean, listen,
right back.
I'm a Benson Boyd all day, man. Chris is a good buddy, and
Benson Boyd.
yeah, the preamp is great. It's based off an amp that Chris and I did together. So there's that pedal. Actually, the Germanium boost is on my board now, and that's like the Germanium boost into the amp is like all I do for like, if I'm recording. Man, a third would, I don't know, like a good Rad or an EQ
Don't look at me,
pedal
Mike.
or
I don't know what to say.
oh, dude.
I don't rig your pedal board up, man.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, like because I'm finally getting around to putting a board together.
Right.
And I ended up doing a Lightspeed.
Those are great.
It's my favorite
those are
Revv
great.
ever.
Yeah, and of course the tilt would, but after that is not even a vintage Rad. I literally bought a Rad from Sweetwater.
Yeah, they sound great, man.
Yeah, and it was just one of those things. But the way I like to use it is I've got the XTS EQ that I like to run before the Rad.
Oh, okay.
But that's the thing is like I've got the Greer is going to be really transparent. The Greer is not going to argue with my pedal, which isn't ridiculously transparent.
Sure.
And then my pedal's not going to argue with the Rad. And the nice thing with the Rad is the Rad's just a completely different circuit.
Totally.
It's completely different overdrive circuit. My only complaint with Rats has always been when I find the tonality that I dig, it's too boomy.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I can bump mids and do whatever I need to do with an EQ, pre-Rat.
Right.
And I'm
right.
pretty much
That's
done,
right. Are you a stacker?
I wasn't for
Okay.
so long because people that have seen like my older boards, I always had like one pedal dedicated to low gain, one pedal dedicated to crunch, and then my high gain pedal. And I really never stacked them. Every once in a while, the really low gain pedal could be like always on, but for the most part, I never did that. Now I'm more apt to do that. And that was kind of part of the tilt thing was, I'm already stacking technically a boost into a pedal. And when I was building the board, I was like, oh man, the Greer Lightspeed sounds great stacked into. But who turned me on to that was Chris Condon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Chris was like, because he was using the tilt. I was like, are you using a Greer for that? He's like, dude, you got to try that. And I was like, I didn't even
The
think
light
about
speed
that.
into the tilt.
Yes, it sounds
Interesting.
fabulous.
I love a light. I love a light speed.
Yeah, and I'd never played a Lightspeed. I always threatened to, but same thing. I was like, I'm just gonna buy one.
Yeah.
And I got that, and then that was the hardest part. Was like, okay, I've got all these bases covered, Lightspeed, tilt. The next gain stage, I don't want it to be just more of these two pedals. It's got to be something complete, and that's where the Rat. It's like, man, everybody should own a Rat pedal.
Yeah, man. If you're a serious guitar player, you gotta have a Rat.
Got to have a Rat pedal.
This begs a question that might be uncomfortable for the internet who knows the history.
Get in here.
I was with our mutual buddy Dan McKenzie, the guy that Mike was helping move. He mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And he has those midnight amplification pedals.
Yeah,
And
those
one
are-
of those
those
is
are
a
mine.
Rat. I know those are
Those are
yours,
mine, yeah.
and Dan and I are like trying to steal them because they're so.
Well, I gave
good.
him
What
the
are those all
Midnight
about?
Violence one, but then the old
Okay.
black one I'll never give away because that's like one of my favorite pedals. It's weird because that pedal is supposed to be it's a Neil Young pedal. It's supposed to sound like a stacked Fenders, but it doesn't at all. It just sounds amazing.
I think it sounds like if I were to guess at what's going on in there, like the Ariel Hudson broadcast pedal, like that.
Okay,
the
interesting.
The cranked Neve.
Yeah.
Is what I think
has,
it sounds like.
It has that kind of thing going on.
Interesting.
I don't know anything about
Like
it.
you're blowing up the front end of like a 1073.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Closest thing I found to it, and I am obsessed with this pedal. It's called the Lauren Audio Mustang. Have you guys played that?
No.
The moment I played
Dude,
that,
hot tips.
I just wanted that sound, and I knew you weren't going to sell it to him or me. So I was like, what is going to sound like this? Everybody check out the Lauren Audio Mustang. I ordered one on a whim. It has the most insane fuzz for bass in particular, but also for guitar. It's just, it's one of the coolest pedals I think I've ever heard. And it's big. It's not friendly to pedal boards.
Yeah. But big pedals sound cool, man.
Man, it's gorgeous.
I miss big pedals. Like I kind of miss like the old big electro-harmonic stuff.
Yeah.
Like even like when the Holy Grail was like,
Qtron was like half your pedal board.
Yeah, Mootron, man.
Yeah,
One
man.
of those suckers back on.
Oh, dude, those are amazing.
They were killer.
Anthony, I do love Mayor, so that's not a hard sell. Derek wants to know, what's the one piece of gear everyone sold and regretted after?
Oh, I've got,
man.
So
the
many.
one.
I was gonna say, I man.
I just paid my counselor to not talk about this ever again.
I was talking to my counselor this morning about that. Man, there's so many. That's the problem. Is I've got the biggest there's two heartbreaks. I had the Les Paul was sentimental. I sold a 78 Burgundy Paul on accident. I was out of town, decided not to sell it. My pops didn't know, and he didn't know. Someone called. He's like, "Yeah, come over and check it." I sold it. That went away, but that guitar wasn't magical. It was just sentimental. The one that was magical, I had 63 Strat. Sold it like a moron to, now don't get me wrong, don't get me upset. I sold it to buy a Tom Anderson because at the time, session players that showed up with a noisy, misintonating old Strat didn't work. So I was like, okay, I'm going to part with this, get an Anderson, but I crazy miss that guitar. But I've been perusing for, I want my Duesenberg Star Player back.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
What's the Duesenberg you have? Because that one
I had a Mike Campbell. That's the one I played with Carrie.
Okay.
And then, ups and downs in the gig, I ended up having to sell it to make ends meet. And then I lucked out because Carrie had one, but she wasn't using it. So I had a black one that's people had probably seen me play, loved that guitar, loved it. And I thought, well, she'll never want that back. Even after I quit the gig, I was like, she probably forgot about it. She didn't. So I ended up having to give that back. And then I was like, oh, I don't have a Star Player anymore. So I am trying to find one of those because they're just fabulous guitars. If I can find the right one, I'm going to get another one. But yes, I was crazy blessed when I was given dear Nathan gave me Grand Majesto.
Grand Majesto.
Yes,
cool.
That is a secret weapon guitar that's entirely different than a Star Player. But yeah, the Grand Majesto, man, I've done some videos talking about it because it's one of those guitars where the scale is kind of long, and it's not the most forgiving guitar to play.
Okay.
But good God, does it sound amazing? And then if you want to detune it to anything up or down,
oh wow,
it just is okay.
It hangs with it.
Yeah, and then if I don't have any ideas and I pick up that guitar, it's like happens. I've got immense.
And it's got weird pickups. Are they gold foils?
Yeah, they're essentially kind of gold foils meets like a P90 thing.
Yeah, they're weird looking.
And the way the 4-position switch works, I'm not even sure. I don't care.
Yeah,
it just sounds amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Yeah,
but that's the one guitar. Like the regret that I can actually attain is I do want to get another Star Player TV.
Yeah.
I like BMO's response to like the piece of gear you sold that you regret. I do not sell any gear.
That's hilarious.
That's great. Robbie says my first gold top 2008 Les Paul Standard. I was stupid and sold it. Also 03 dual rec, which I didn't fully understand until later in life.
Oh
those are probably worth some money now.
Yeah.
Once sold an Ibanez. Adrian says I sold an Ibanez Universe, the black one with the mirror pickguard during financial crunch. Was that that's not the Revv Beach one, is it?
Which one? Yeah, because I was trying to figure out.
That was the Voyager, something different.
Yeah, I don't think Revv was using that. And maybe he can.
Yeah, somebody correct me. Oh, this guy's got a heartbreaker. David says, way back in my early 20s, I sold off a Vantage hippie sandwich. I found out a few years ago and bought it. Oh, where'd it go?
Oh, Vantage.
Yeah, I found one a few years ago. I think he meant vintage hippie sandwich. Isn't that a way huge pedal? Hippie sandwich? No.
Sounds like a huge pedal.
No, it's like what is it called? The
it's a
Blue Hippo
guitar.
or something like that. Yeah, But no, because Vantage is a brand, so that's
Okay.
why I'm wondering. like,
Vantage. Okay.
Yeah.
Proco Rat. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
heartbreaker.
sure.
I had one and sold it. Sean, D20 or 740 if you had to pick one, gun to the head.
Well, that I would still I'd get shot asking the question.
What's the gig?
Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
gig?
What's the
Like
gig?
740 is a fabulous amp. D20 is a completely different amp. So yeah, what are you doing? And then I can.
I'm
better
assuming
answer that question.
are you meaning, I mean, because we make a Dynamis 740 and a generator 740. Usually people, when they just say 740, are talking about the generator, but
yeah, but even a Dynamis 740, once again, it's like
it's pretty different.
It's a completely, it's the D20 is kind of based on that, but it is still a different ball game. So I'd have to. You got to give me more parameters there, guy.
More
and then
parameters.
you can shoot me.
Anthony, I miss my Lightspeed. Well, just go buy another one. They're not that expensive.
They're out there.
Oh, I keep doing this thing where it like goes down to the bottom too fast.
But yeah, look for him though, because I would like to know like what his gig parameters are, like what he's wanting to do. And it's easier question to answer.
Guess I know what I'm buying now, Anthony says. There you go. We're behind on this. Robbie says, regarding stacking, I've always had two drive pedals. One is my main drive and one is for boosting my crunch tone. If I want a lead tone, I turn them both on.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I realized I like stacking. That's pretty
I'm just getting into stacking. I used to never do it unless it was like with a boost pedal.
Yes.
Like I always like a SHO into just about any pedal you like the
Mhm.
sound of.
Mhm.
And then those Vertex boost after is nice. But
Mhm.
recently I just bored sitting at home and getting into it. There, you can find some cool stuff. Very dependent on the two pedals you're stacking together.
I
but-
find you have to keep the gains pretty low for me to enjoy
Sure.
that.
Yeah, I was so against it for the longest time, but I've certainly gotten into it a little more.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Is like you have to let go of, well, this pedal is for this. It's like, well, no, if you're actually going to stack all of these, you have to think beyond those parameters.
What is it going to? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it definitely requires a little more thought, but it's worth it. Like when you get it dialed in,
Yeah.
it is a great tone.
There's some amazing tones you can't get any other way, just like the way that certain pedals enhance or put forth certain frequencies, and then the way stuff compresses when you put things together. That's what's kind of like blowing my mind about stacking right now. So when you find like a magical version and like all of a sudden it's like, whoa, like this is butter.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I call it the harmonic anomaly. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Like they need to record this and remember this.
Yeah, exactly.
So Rand, man, you had a look on your face like you had like the heartbreaker loss of a guitar.
Man, I'm just trying to stay humble and quiet over here, but I do have there was he looked at me and said it was a 38 Martin, and my damn flashback started then because I had a 38 Martin 017.
Of course you did.
And I've had so many vintage Martins. That's for some reason I've bought and sold them all though. And this one was like a hard thing where our buddy Corey Asbury, you guys know who Corey Asbury is? He was working on a record. He came to town and borrowed some guitars from me to do the song Reckless Love, which is a big church song.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And he used that guitar for that song.
All right.
And then he begged me every day. Once a week, he would text me.
He's
like,
good at harassing people.
Dude, the best.
He's great at harassing
Corey,
people.
if you're out there, man, quit being so good at harassing people.
Yeah.
But he would text me all the time, and he'd be like, "Hey, you ready to sell it to me yet? You ready to sell it to me yet?" And always, no, I'll never sell it. I got it from some country guy. I won't say the name. It's probably improper anyway, but someone who has a lot of guitars, and it was just a magical guitar. I don't know why he sold it. I bought it. I don't know why I sold it, but I just needed the money. And I told Corey, I was like, "Hey man, it's not worth this, but if you give me this much for it, you can have it." It was one of those situations. And so he paid me that. And I think that was what I paid. It was a straight, I wasn't ripping him off, but I was like, I don't think it's worth this much, but this is what I paid. Can you do this?
Yeah.
And because it was the best sounding guitar.
Man.
And he bought it from me because I had to, hard times, had to pay rent. And now I text him every week. I'm like, "Hey man, when are you going to sell me back that guitar?" He's like, "I'll never sell it." So hope hard times don't come on to Corey Asbury, but I do hope he has a reason to sell me back that guitar. It's an amazing instrument. So
Wow. Yeah, man.
David asked $100. I guess that's Canadian for a Lauren Audio Mustang.
good deal or no?
That's a good question, man. I would say there are pieces of gear that when you have the cash laying around and you don't know who I am probably, so you don't know the weight of my recommendation. I will tell you that if it's worth losing $30 on the flip, if you don't like it, it will be one of the coolest pedals you've ever tried.
Mm.
And if you want to just know what that sounds like, I would say if you wanted to look and wait a while for a used one to pop up, maybe that's worth it for you. But there's one pedal that I have bought new in the past decade. That was the Greer Lightspeed, because it sounded so good. I didn't want to wait for one to pop up used. And I was like, I'm going to buy this right now. And if I saw the Lawn Audio in a shop and I played it, I would buy it new. So if that's a new price, I say go for it, man.
Mhm.
It sounds amazing.
And listen to Ren, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, it sure does.
I agree.
Well, thank you.
Brent said, I sold my Mesa Boogie quad preamp. Always sounded great, especially recording.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever have one of those?
Oh heck yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had all the Mesas all the way up to the tri-axis.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, you used to
Yeah.
work at the Mesa store. You
Yeah.
owned a Mesa store.
Had them all.
You worked
yeah.
at the Mesa store
Mhm.
in Hollywood?
Well, no, I actually started out with a shop called Think Music with my brother in Fountain Valley that was right down from Guitar Center.
Mm.
And we sold nothing but Mesa Boogies and Tom Anderson guitars.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
And then that changed into Mesa Boogie South Coast. And then my brother and I started managing Mesa Boogie Hollywood with Jimbo and John Tokar.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
tried to go in there.
Yeah, but yeah, I've definitely the quad was the quad was great, man. Really great. All the I mean, I loved, honestly, the studio crew was still the one that I probably liked the best out of all of them. Even like the Traxxas was great, but just a plain old studio pre's, I would switch between two of those.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Wow.
Yeah,
into
crazy.
a 290 and done.
Ollie Morris says, tips for playing slide. Anybody here play slide?
Don't
Yeah,
play slide.
don't.
That's my,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, no matter
I
how
got-
much you practice, it's always.
I was on a
hard.
session 2 weeks ago, and this girl that I was playing the songs for, she was like, "Yeah, I really want a Derek Trucks vibe," and I'm like,
Oh,
I just
You
said,
called
I
the
said,
wrong guy.
I said, I'll give you what I can. I set up 3 amp signals, just try to get like a really simple part with the most larger than life tone, like panning and blah, blah, blah.
oh man.
And then I came for a solo, and she was like, "Yeah, and you know, Derek," and I was like, "Yeah, just hit the red button." And I just tried to distract them like you distract a toddler. And I was like, I'm really hearing something. Just give me a go. And they hit the red button, and I thank God I played something fretted that they liked.
There you go.
And they liked it so much that they were like, "Oh yeah, cool, let's move on." Thank God for that.
yeah.
I have a
Dodge
good
the
slide
Derek
story.
Yeah,
I have a
slide.
good slide story,
Slide's a
man.
booger.
We had a song called Forever, which was like a huge song for Bethel Music. Like Carrie Job and a bunch of other like big Christian artists covered it. And our version of the song, I basically kind of like doubled the vocal with slide the whole time with like a bunch of reverb and a pog and just like you know, how big can you make a single note sound, right? Well, years into playing this song, it's a song that'll never go away. We end up getting a new LD, like a new lighting guy for our tours. And in this one part of the song, it's like there's like this build, and I ramp the slide up and do this big like dramatic like slide down. The reverb and the delay kind of takes it nuts. And then you got to come back in with that like right on the money with that vocal, you know, or else it's like it's bad news bears, right?
Yeah.
Well, this new lighting guy thought it would be a really great idea to like black out the stage completely right at that moment. And when we come in, like, you know, do the whole floodlight thing, you know, all the, you know, hardcore show guys will get it.
Oh, I know.
Dude, I definitely said a few bad words over the talk back for all the nice, you know, Christian folks in the front row.
Not
At that
realizing
one.
you were in
Did you land the note though?
No, no, I did not. The first time I did not. And we got on the tour bus and I was like, dude, you cannot do that. You don't understand. You cannot do that. And he did it again the next night. And I was like, all right, like he's going to do it again. So I'm going to watch my tuner. And we made it happen the second night. But
Oh yeah,
First night was-
that's the thing. Production guys do not care.
no,
I mean, even
No.
on the Storyteller tour, they were the lights would go black, and I would have to start an acoustic piece,
Mhm.
you know, at around the 6th fret with Carrie.
Wow.
Goes black.
Yep.
They do not care. I can say, hey, can you
No.
guys? And they're like, yeah, that's cute. You do your job, I'll do mine.
Mm-hmm.
So you just learn. It's like, and if
Yeah.
if you watch like the tour, you can literally see me as the lights are going down, going
Yeah.
locking in.
Yeah.
Because I know.
That's when you invest
Yeah.
in some lumen lay side
Yeah.
I was
dots.
gonna say,
because-
I
Have
understand
you
the
guys ever
LEDs
played
in the
those?
sides now. You know?
Yeah.
Have you seen the lumen lay?
No.
It's like a
It's like the glow in the dark stuff.
yeah, it's
Oh,
like
okay.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
inlaid. You charge it in
Hit
the
it with
sun.
okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
Or
you hit
with
it with a
flashlight,
flashlight.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I've seen those.
Yeah, that's what's hard. The one thing I will say about slide, and you're hearing this from a terrible slide players who do not take this as anything other than give it a try, is the way I try and practice slide is I pick a melody. It can be any melody you know, but you have to do it on one string.
Yeah.
Any string, but it has to be on the one string. So it can be like Amazing Grace. It can be whatever favorite song you have. Play it slowly, but play it in time, and play it just dead nuts on. And the one thing I would say is don't be afraid as you come up to a note. If you have to slide up 6 frets or 12, whatever it is, don't be afraid to go ahead and fret the slide down to see if you were in tune.
Mm.
Oh,
Because
nice.
eventually, and even Derek Trucks, if you listen to Derek Trucks, you listen to Joey, Sonny Landreth, all the amazing slide players, every once in a while you do hear them kind of cack into frets. And that's the thing. It's like, don't worry about that. I think that's the biggest mistake I make trying to play slide. And I'm a terrible slide player, but the one thing I'm learning is not to be afraid to go ahead and fret into it, because it gives me a semblance of pitch, and it allows me to just feel where I'm landing.
Yeah.
So, all joking aside, it's like, don't play slide. But if you must, try that.
Says the guy who's trying to learn lap steel right now.
Well, lap steel has really helped me.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm terrible at lap steel.
Intonation. Nobody's more anal about tuning than a steel guitar player.
Exactly. Yeah. So it definitely
Tuning
helps.
is the hardest part, always.
Always.
Of any kind of guitar playing.
Yeah, because with lap steel, it forces you to be focused on intonation. The problem with playing, unless you're going to raise your action way up and have a guitar dedicated to that, the problem is you hear the what I call like fret cacking, or that you hit the speed bumps.
Yep.
And so that makes it even harder. But the upside of that is you can embrace that and realize, oh, the slide needs to be sitting right here. If I fret at the 7th fret with the slide, now I know where the slide has to land to be in tune. So it's
Yeah, I mean, that's actually part of Derek's technique I've seen, where he actually frets notes more often than you realize that he's doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Especially when he's holding pitch, like it's kind of part of how it's like, I mean, he is amazing. And actually that's really hard to do, is to like go from slide to like fretting and then back to, slide.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't keep his action high, but I think Tom, Buki had even put something up about not being like chained to the slide, like knowing that you can fret behind the slide if it's on your pinky. Right. In my case, like on my 3rd finger, I know I can fret behind it, and I can even fret in front of it if need be. You can do it. It sounds terrible when I try, but it can be done.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, like slide playing is crazy. But the one thing I always tell guys is like, if you're going to learn how to do it, try and learn how to do it without raising your action.
Yeah.
And have it sound great, because then you can fret behind and,
And if you're playing a metal slide and you're in an outdoor venue, do not leave the metal slide on stage in the sun and then throw your fist out into a baking oven in the middle of a song and then scorch your skin off. That's my advice on slide.
I know where this is going.
There's that.
That's amazing.
Tales from the road.
I heard, is it Mike Gannon? Is that his name? The local slide guy?
He's one of the best slide players in town, I think.
Man, somebody was telling me, this didn't come from him directly, so I could be wrong about or inaccurately crediting this source, but he was saying that the way that he's got his intonation, because he does the Derek Trucks thing like as good as most anybody I've ever seen do that thing.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And his intonation is insanely good, which is the hardest part. He said he's like, I don't practice to like any other form of reference for pitch, other than like I'll play Amazing Grace, like you were saying, but I play it to a pure sine wave, because he's like, I can hear exactly how far out of pitch I am, and it's like it helps me to really get really picky about my intonation.
Yeah, because I guess you could do that. You could just literally have like A440.
And just playing an A and against it.
Yeah.
Just hit the tune button on your old synth.
One of the things that Derek, sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just saying the nice thing about a slide is those thirds that would normally be out of tune fretted can be so
Yeah.
in tune.
Yeah.
Is that what you're gonna say?
Well, yeah. So Derek always talks about listening to old soul singers and gospel singers. And if you listen to old gospel recordings, man, they hit that third like just shy. It's like a little
Yep.
flat,
Yep.
Yeah.
and it makes you feel something. And when you can replicate that,
Yep.
it's so powerful and emotive. But you have to be able to hear it. I say you have to be able to feel it before you can hear it, and then once you're able to hear it, you have to be able to replicate it. And that kind of like
That's what we just did. It's not out yet, but Joey Landreth was in town playing at the City Winery a few weeks ago,
He's
and
great.
I took him to do an episode on Brett Papa's channel, and he was talking about the same thing, and he was actually referencing, Jacob Collier talks about how equal tempered tuning is not accurate, like a real true third is slightly flat.
Well, Jacob's saying also was that it wasn't necessarily inaccurate, but the human ear wants to hear that third slightly flat.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you watch where he actually sang against that third,
Mhm.
where he hit it on the piano
Jesus.
and then he lifted the third off and sang it and then held out the note and then hit the third on the piano and you heard the beat?
Wow.
Jacob Collier is an alien.
Yeah, that guy's.
He came and
He's
played.
not human.
No,
He's not.
no.
He's
not from this planet.
No.
Scary.
He doesn't even like really act or look like he's. I would believe it if somebody told me
No,
that.
he's-
He's half alien.
1,000% alien.
Yeah. Yeah, he's insane.
Alex Stobie is messing with us.
Stobes, how's your foot, man?
Yeah, man, how's that foot?
Dang.
Jeez, post a picture in the comments, can you? He
Yeah.
said the files are inside the computer. It's so simple. I think he's taking the piss out of us. I can't be
Pretty
sure.
much, yeah.
What else we got going on here?
Hey, I gotta interrupt and say, smash that like and subscribe button.
Mm.
Follow for more tips.
Oh, I'm not gonna say the name right, but Gigalax was asking earlier. Gigalax was asking earlier about.
Someone said that's a Pokemon character.
Does
100%.
does anybody? What do you guys think of the D20 G20 for like kind of clean / indie tones? Anybody here use that? I use the D20 a lot personally, and I feel like that can cover a lot of ground. But
I use it all the time. I mean,
Which one?
When I the D20,
the D20.
and I think the G20s, you could probably cover the same territory. I've never played a G20, but I know these circuits, and they're just so intuitive with what's going on. And one of the things that Travis showed me whenever I picked up the D20 just to try out was using your ears for the tone stacks, because I don't know what kind of circuits are in there, but it, with the history and the involvement with gain sounds and rock and everything that Revv has, it makes sense that when you have a lot of gain, putting those knobs at noon is going to bring a lot of clarity and definition to those frequencies in the context of a lot of gain. When you're setting for clean tones, though, I'm trying to think of how you guys see the way my hands are working. Try to set the tone knobs down at 9 o'clock and kind of start there. And then, just see how that sounds. And if you navigate plus or minus, 30 minutes on the clock, starting at 9, you can get really clean, really convincing and beautiful Americana or indie tones that work in every situation.
Yeah. Especially if you're using, it depends on the cabinet you're using it with, but if you're using it
Right.
with like the 412, which is like the number 1 or number 2 position on the virtual cabinet switch, I tend to run my bass a lot lower in those situations, or I'll just use the 1x12. But the D20 has a good amount of bass on tap, which is great depending on what you're trying to do. But if you're going for more of that indie or Americana thing, you're emulating an open back cabinet and you're chasing a tone that may not be quite as full in the low end. So
The 112 cabs are really nice for that, because I was actually surprised at how well the D20 with some of those 112s actually nails that kind of papery, cardboardy, small amp thing, which is killer for indie stuff, especially when it's clean. And it's kind of one of those things too. It's if you solo up those tones, sometimes they just sound really bad on their own.
yes,
Or, bad in terms of what people in the world tells you is this is a great guitar tone, right? But man, dude, try the 112 cabs. I use his, 112 cab stock setting on there all the time for indie stuff, and that and a compressor or
that's right.
insert pedal here, it's killer for that stuff.
Yeah, you've had a D20 for a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think not quite a year now.
You
But
did,
maybe.
when you first picked it up from me, were you using it on a tour, or were you only using it? You were, right?
I was using it for recording and for rehearsals. So
That's right.
I hadn't played out in a long time, and Corey Asbury, as it would have it, he had just gotten to town. He's like, hey, like,
Did he bring Ren's guitar with him?
no, he did not.
You gotta go
No,
play that thing, man.
dude. I'm
gotta
going
hear
to
it.
now. I'm gonna call him and be like, dude, I'm coming over and I'm playing that guitar.
Yes.
No, Corey called and he was like, hey, like I don't know if you're like, playing out anymore, but I like, can you and Dan and fill in for this, like for these 2 shows? And we're like, yeah, like sure. Where are we going? He's like, Red Rocks. I was like, oh shit, okay, cool, man, here we
Yeah.
go.
Something
So-
small, just ease back into it.
Yeah, and because I've been recording for so long, like I hadn't really been doing much like stereo stuff, which like live the sound for church music and like his music is kind of the stereo guitar thing. And so all I had was just like a few little heads and an aux. And so I was like, I got to put a pedal board together. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm working out of this little Airbnb, like a little corner of a room. And so it's like, oh yeah, like Ren and Travis that brought that D20 over that time, and it sounded great. I could go direct in with that. And so I like rehearsed and like built all the tones for those shows with like, my Benson through the aux on one side and the Revv on the other. And then like, since you guys let me hang on to that thing so ever so kindly, I've just been like, it's just another amazing like recording option. Like I'm new into the whole like modeled guitar
Oh yeah.
sound or modeled amp thing. Like, cause I mean,
Well, Mike had a reputation for being a little cranky when it came to modelers.
all in good fun.
We all should be cranky unless
He
it
was-
sounds great.
Yeah,
he
that
was
was-
not
that
the
was
first
me,
person to
yeah.
embrace the Kemper or
Yeah,
the Helix.
like I completely understood why people used it when they had to.
yeah, of course.
But like I was very lucky enough to have a front of house guy who was a guitar player, and to be working in studios and have my own studio. And so I didn't need to model. And I was like, if I don't need to, like, why would I do something that's
course.
trying to emulate the thing when I can just do the thing?
right.
But then when COVID-19 happened, I was like, I don't have another way to work. Like I had moved out of my studio space and we shut that whole business down. And so I bought an aux because I was like, I don't know what else to do. And then finally got comfortable with that. And the D20 came along. And the thing that impressed me about the D20 is it's like, I spent all the time like tweaking like amps and the aux and like, running it through mic pre's, running it direct in, like doing all the things to like try to get comfortable with it. And the D20 was just like plug it in right out the box. It sounded exactly like I wanted it to sound like, and it just worked and sounded every bit as good as any amp I had ever put through that aux. So I was like, sold,
That's
man.
awesome.
Like, where were these things when I was touring in Asia?
I feel the same way. Like I spent a lot of time trying to get a Helix or a Kemper dialed in for tones and I could get good results, but it did take like you said, a lot of tweaking.
Yeah,
and it's because it's and I don't know why that is, I guess, but we all have a sound in our head, and it's like for me being able to just fire something up and like see the tubes glow, plug into it, and go, oh yeah, that sounds the way I remember a tube amp sounding. Like
man.
That's and I also find like, I don't know, you guys tell me what you think, but I find like the D20 for me is a really great kind of bass platform that bridges the gap from like Fendery and it almost like, especially when you pull the gain knob and you start to like drive it more, almost to kind of Class A, like matchlessly voxy, dare I say, like a little bit more chimey thing too.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it nails all that stuff. And the biggest thing with all that for me, and maybe it's just like part of getting older, but the older I get and the more music I make, the more I'm trying to get my head out of gear of any kind. And I'm trying to stay in a creative headspace, no matter what. I don't want to be flipping through endless IR options. I don't want to be like thinking, oh, I'll just like ramp my guitar tone later. I want to get the tone that I hear now,
Source tone.
record it now, move on to the next part, finish the song, be happy with it, rinse and repeat.
Yes.
Like I don't want to get hung up on.
And when you have
all the
128 options or whatever, like that's kind of the beauty of like, really you have 3 options. I mean, you have 6 virtual cabinets, but the way it comes loaded is like the same cabinet, either totally dry or with a little bit of ambience.
Yeah.
So like you have basically 3 options. And to me, it's like, if you can't get it done between one of those 3 options, like
there's something else that's wrong
Totally.
tonally.
And I spent an hour one day and went through the Two Notes store
Sure.
and bought a couple cabinets and stuff, and that was
Mhm.
fine. But it's like anything nowadays that you can find that just instantly sounds good and the way you want it to right out the box and just lets you create and do your thing. I'm like, I'm all for it.
I think of it like going to In-N-Out. It's like you go to In-N-Out, you've got like, do you want a hamburger or a cheeseburger? Like
There you
that's
go,
your
man.
choice.
So
And it's going to be awesome. Like, and then you go to other restaurants, like I don't know what you guys do well. And
why'd you
have
have to mention In-N-Out, man? I missed that place.
oh yeah,
That
was
a good joint.
bad.
This is where the one that got away comes back to Mike Pope. He's thinking about In-N-Out.
In-N-Out.
You can tell.
Did you guys have an In-N-Out in Reading?
Oh yeah, dude.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, man. That was like
The latest
weekend
restaurant
thing.
there, right? It's like 2 a.m. You used to say.
Yeah, dude. It was
Man.
pretty much the only place to eat. Period.
Man.
Black Bear Diner,
Yeah.
bro.
Oh god.
I got a bag of Feast coffee in the mail today.
No way.
Yeah, it's delicious.
I've heard it's really, really great.
Wow,
man.
it's insane.
I've been on an Onyx kick, but I need to reach out to Eric and get some coffee.
This guy Mitch says, "I'm sure Tubbs sucks at slide and sounds great to the rest of us." Exactly.
Yeah.
When Tubbs says like, "Oh, I can't really," it's like his version of "I suck at something" is like my best day. Yeah.
Destroys anything we're capable of.
I'm suck at sliding. Henry says, "Also, I'll just use an Ebo. Thank you, Stu G." Yeah,
Wow.
dude. What up,
Ebo.
Stu G?
Dude, I just having moved, I found 2 Ebos in my stash of trash. And I'm like, man, now I got to figure out how to use these. I have an Ebo that is so old, it only has one setting on it.
Really?
Yeah. You know that? They
Vintage.
The
You
first
could probably
I have
get a
a
lot of
vintage
money for
Ebo,
it.
man. I should put that crap
Check
on
out
Reverb.
Michael's Reverb store after the live stream.
Vintage black. It's black, so it's a better color than
Oh,
gray
dude,
ones.
black? Yeah, those
It's
are
got
way
a red
better.
light,
Yeah.
but there's only one tone setting, so
Yeah.
you know.
Well, for the low price of $1,500, it could be yours.
I was gonna say, yeah, first one with $2,000, it's yours.
And Mike will sign it.
Sure,
He'll autograph.
sure.
learn to
But you gotta
play.
mail me the Sharpie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I need
yeah.
the check needs to clear first. Learn to play an open string along with the one string melody. Oh, for slide, for sure. Yeah,
That's tricky too.
That's a hard thing to do because
Yeah.
you got this angle thing. That's where you really start bumping into frets.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jacob's an alien. Agreed. So how do y'all feel about playing with 3 slides at once? Sean Verall of Widemouth Mason does it. Crazy cool. Oh, I thought it was a joke. It's real.
You know, if you
Wow.
put 3 or 4 slide tracks, like all like doubled or even
Mhm.
quadrupled at that point, you basically have a chorus pedal.
Yeah, because they're never all in tune.
Exactly.
The only time I'm interested in 3 slides at once is if it's at Six Flags.
Oh, listen to. Oh, by the way, I don't remember the name of the record, but Joey Landreth did a tribute record to Lowell George of Little Feat,
Oh wow.
and there's a
I bet
lot
it's
of
beautiful.
incredible.
I've not
layers.
listened to enough of Joey Landry.
Oh, he's another alien. That's a guy who can sing like an angel,
Yeah.
write songs like a mother, and play and rip your face off playing guitar. It's like it's not fair.
I have a soft spot in my heart for him because he plays a gold top that is not an authentic
Yeah,
one.
he plays a Sorokin.
and I do as well. And
Which
of
I
a
believe was
different brand,
I
but-
believe was a move on Street Fighter, the Sorokin.
Oh really?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
I don't know anything about that.
Sorokin.
I'm not cool enough. I'm not much of a gamer.
Robbie
cool.
says, "Yeah, I use my D20 for indie. Works great. I agree.
It's awesome.
Totally can do all that. The Revv 112 is no joke. Amazing cabinet. Agree. Adrian Hinckley is this must be fake. What a burger better than In-N-Out.
Dude, you're crazy.
What are you even?
The only
talking
people who
about?
say that are from Texas.
That's
I
what
mean-
that's what I just walked into.
I
You
tried.
don't worry about it, man. We're moving on.
I don't even- yeah, let's not
Don't
even-
don't give that the time of day.
I ain't having that.
They just put one here in Nashville, and people were waiting like hours in line for that.
Oh.
crap. I was like, you guys are stupid.
I went to a Whataburger in Tech. Whatever. I'm not even.
Nostalgia
I'm
is
not
a
gonna
powerful
dignify.
drug. That's
Yeah.
all I'll say about it.
Oh,
That's it, man.
nice.
That's
By
it.
the way, shout out for Ren's shorts. Beautiful.
I'm
Skies
in
out,
full
thighs
Zoom
out.
attire right now, you guys.
Yeah.
I didn't know that the lower half of me would be.
Not gonna
visible.
lie, I almost wore
Fish eye.
shorts.
Fish eye.
I was ready, man.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm wearing brown pants. So
They're beautiful.
what can brown do for you?
Ollie Morris.
Well, I'll tell you.
What was the best thing you learned from Chris Greeley, Pope?
Oh, that's a great
man.
question.
That's a good
What a
question.
legend of a
What's
guy.
the best thing that I learned from Chris Greeley? God, I learned so much from that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, probably just how to listen. That dude, blows my mind with how good his ear is. Whether it's a frequency, he would literally get on the talkback mic from front of house and be like, hey, keys guy, you've got a little bit too much 1.6. Can you just turn that down?
Yikes.
Like
Wow.
instantly can pull it out. Same thing with guitar. He can be like, oh, that one, your B string is just like 10 cents too flat. Can you just tune that up a little bit?
Wow.
Or hey, like I noticed you're not. He would tell our drummers all the time. He's like, hey, you're adding a kick on this bar at this part of the song. Like the level that he was able to pay attention and still do his job. Like I still aspire to be able to do that.
Wow.
And so yeah,
That's
he
wild.
taught me like how to try to pay attention on that level. And I can't do that kind of stuff. I mean, I can do a little bit of it from working with him for so long, but that dude is an animal, man.
Well, that's a good point. Like my buddy, a lot of guys on this live stream probably know him, but a good friend of ours, Ben Eller, posted something the other day where he said, if you're the best musician in the room, you're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And,
Yeah,
and, that,
man.
and that's a real big thing. And that's been a
Yeah.
theme for me. It's like when I've been the best guy in the room is when I've been my most stagnant and the
Yeah.
most bored and frustrated. But when I'm
Yep.
put into situations where I'm around guys who are, monster musicians who
Yeah,
are
man.
pushing me, that's when I've been not only like it's not gonna lie, it can be scary, but it's also the time
Oh,
when you're
it's-
excited. And
It's
you're,
terrifying, but like it's so exciting and amazing too. Because yeah, you get so stagnant. I mean, that for me, that's been one of the best things about living in Nashville. It's like I expect everyone to kind of be like mean and grumpy here,
Mhm.
and like even amongst guitar players, like I'm like everyone's got to be fighting for the same gig and like
because
blah, blah, blah.
we're used to the California mindset.
yeah, but it's like
California.
everyone is so nice and so supportive, and it's like you come here and you meet freaking Sean Tubbs, and he's the nicest guy, and he can play circles around you, but
Oh,
like
come on.
you watch it and you get to be in the room, or God, you even watch it on YouTube, and then it's like, okay, like this is amazing. I've got something to learn and actually work on, and like keeping up with those kind of guys, however you can, whether it's watching Book on homeschooling or doing a live stream with your buddies, whatever it is, it's like that's the stuff that keeps you inspired and keeps you out of the rut.
Right.
Because man, I've been in so many ruts in
Oh yeah. Playing
my
wise,
time of
especially.
playing now, and it's man, that's the best thing.
Especially when you're like kind of you kind of become known for a thing.
Sure.
And then it's like people want you to do the thing. Like, hey,
Yep.
do the thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
wait.
Can you make those records sound like a Bethel Music record?
Sure,
man.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff says, I think the G20 has one of the best cleans I've owned.
Wow.
Haven't owned a ton, mostly Fenders. But yeah, I agree. The
I love
G20, the G20 is a totally different animal, and I'll let Sean speak to this more than me because he's really the expert. But like I own both. The G20 is definitely much because it's 2-channel amp, so the clean is much cleaner, but it is a beautiful sound.
Yeah, I would say it's still what I would consider American or Fender based clean. It's just a little more modern, so it's a little bit more chimey. It's less compressed. So if you want that, G20 is the way to go. I will say that both the D20 and the G20 take pedals really well. The D20 is going to take pedals better because it has a little bit more of that natural kind of compression, or I shouldn't say compression, but like sag. Whereas the G20 is a little bit more immediate, but that's really it. The reason you're loving the G20, I think, is because it's just a slightly more modern sounding clean.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the G20 clean is beautiful, and the G20 clean is going to be the closest to the Generator series clean. So the Generator 120, that's really what the G20 is based on.
Yeah, I was just working on a song where I needed something that was a little, like really pristine, and I knew I could probably get it with the D20, but I already had it kind of set up for my typical kind of push things. So I was like, you know what? I had the G20 sitting right underneath. I was like, I'm gonna use that and fire that up, and it was a beautiful sound. Like I had a pretty hot P90s. I was running into it, and it held together, and it did the thing that I needed it to do, like right there on the spot.
One thing that's fun to think about too is if you ever play in a band with another guitar player and you are playing different parts, like sometimes, having the more immediate attack with the other guy being a little bit behind creates this cool dynamic. I mean, not that any two players are going to play exactly the same, But when I really got into like, MDs who were serious, they started asking me, hey, what amps do you have?
Yep.
Because our other guy plays this,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it sounds best when he's playing those parts on these amps if you're playing a more scooped Fendery thing or
Right.
Yeah.
or something. So just the way that, if you love the D20 and how it sounds, and you already own a D20, like sometimes there's reasons to have both, even for the subtle differences that they offer.
Yeah.
Anything to differentiate like between two guitar players is like the most helpful thing, because we went through so much of that at Bethel. Like me and Bobby, we were into the same kind of music but into totally different gear, and so it naturally worked. But when he left and I was still there, a lot of the guys that were like kind of next in line and started touring with us, they were playing all the same gear and all the same pedals as me, and so we ran into the situation where like there was like all this just like competing frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, I mean, that's when I started changing up stuff kind of at the tail end there, just to like anything you can do to differentiate yourself from the other guitar player, obviously still within the context of the music.
Yeah,
you're
creating
playing.
some contrast,
But-
some
Yeah.
some.
But yeah, I
even-
mean, it's the reason you see session guys with 10 million different guitars on a session, and a bunch of different amps. Like anything you can do to differentiate is like,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Way to
because
go.
I kind of lucked out on the Kerry gig because Ed Eason, the other electric player, he and I are polar opposite players.
Mm.
And the thing that was so cool was he and I never had to have a discussion of who's
Yeah.
doing what. We already knew like who was going to fit.
It's amazing when that
Yeah.
happens naturally.
Oh, it's
huh?
great, yeah. Because otherwise, you do have to. It takes energy to do that math, and
Yeah.
if you're thinking musically, then you will do that. If you're not thinking musically, you're not going to care what
Yeah.
the other guitar player's playing. But
Yeah.
if you're really thinking musically, you're going to be listening to each other and realizing, okay, one of us has to sit within these parameters, and the other
Yeah.
has to sit within that.
Yeah, and it's
and
not
you have to have
just
the discussion and get it sorted out.
right,
Yeah, man.
and it's not just like you play low, I play high.
No, no,
That's
no,
that
no,
is that is part of
no.
it.
Yeah.
Like registers are obviously important, but
Sure.
like also I'm going to play with a squishy, compressed EL84 sound, and you're
Right.
going to play with maybe a more 6L6,
Or
you know,
34. or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That's how he did it. Bobby was the big Fender guy. He had all the big low end and the bright top end. I was the mid range guy. I was straight up the
Mhm.
middle,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it just worked. It just
Well, it took a while, but the Poo Ninja has finally made an appearance
there he
tonight.
is.
Oh, wow.
He said, "No, you're freaks." I think he's talking about frequencies, and I agree. I think he's chiming in there. Ollie asks, "How did you sustain touring?" I guess he's talking to you there. Mr. Phil.
did I sustain it? I mean, I guess I did it
For a
8
while.
years
You
and
did.
then quit. Man, touring is really fun when you're young, and it completely depends on you and your lifestyle. I made a lot of sacrifices to keep touring. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I wasn't in a relationship for a long time because I was never home and didn't really have the opportunity to build any of that. I
Yeah.
had the people that I was on the road with. I'd be home for a weekend here and there, play at the church and cover my responsibilities there, and then it's like I might have an extra day or two and then I'm gone. So it really depends on your lifestyle, and you just have to know yourself really, really well and know what you need to be healthy physically and mentally at the end of the day, and do that, and be prepared to make relational and life sacrifices. You're not going to see your family as much. The reason I stopped touring is I wanted to be home and see my wife, and now I have a kid, and so I need to be around for her. So it very much depends on your life and what you're willing to sacrifice and not sacrifice. And it's like anything else, you just have to do the best you can with what you're given.
Yeah, touring's a young man's game. I mean,
Yeah.
I did it. I was with Carrie for 12 years, and I did have kids, and yeah, you have to. It was tough, because you missed everything. I missed birthdays,
You started with her in what 06,
2006.
and you were with her through 2018.
Yeah, 2018. And you miss everything. People pass away. You have
Yeah.
to miss funerals.
Because you're
family
literally on
members.
a
Yeah, because you can't just
Wow.
duck out of a gig.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a sustainable thing, but it's like Michael was saying, it's all about where your mindset is. I think it is a young man's game.
Mhm.
It's doable, but I stopped for the same reason. you know, I missed so much. It's like I've got one that's graduated from college and one that's in college now.
Wow.
But I missed so much. I mean, they were just like 3 and 5 when I started, you know.
Wow.
So, and I don't regret touring with Carrie. It was amazing. She was
Yeah.
brilliant. But at the same time, the reason I stopped is I knew
Yeah.
it was
Family.
time.
Family
Yeah.
was more
It was
important.
time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I don't think a lot of people think about is that you are a part of this really large enterprise with a lot of moving parts,
Mhm.
and it's not going to stop, and it's not going to, and it can't
Mhm.
make exceptions for anyone really. And
Yeah.
maybe the artist, but like, you know, you are a very small cog in a big machine, you know.
Yeah, I mean, because there were exceptions, you know, and because the technology existed,
Right.
you know, there's things that would happen, like, you know, Ed had a baby, Mark, the musical director, had a baby, so we had Adam Nitty, who's a fabulous bass
I
player in
didn't know
Nashville.
that.
He subbed for Mark, and then I became the musical director while Mark was out. There were things you could
Yeah.
do, but in my case, it was more difficult if something happened because I was doing things with Carrie that couldn't be subbed out,
Right.
like an acoustic set before
Right.
the show,
Yeah.
an acoustic set during the show. It's like you can't just
Well,
all,
plus you're Sean
can't
Tubbs.
just-
I mean, who's
no,
going to sub?
but
for
you
Sean
can't
Tubbs?
just
dude.
tell the artist,
Can't.
because that's one thing I will tell all you cats that want to tour,
Yeah.
especially if you get on tour with an artist. You don't represent you.
Oh, dude.
You represent the artist.
It's a service industry.
It's a customer service
Yes,
job.
You
all
represent
day.
the artist. So in
All
my
day.
case, representing the artist, I can't go to the artist and say, "Hey, skip this set before the show." And oh, by the way, because someone has passed away,
Yeah.
the fully produced and automated show has to be changed, and all the acoustic things need to be dropped out. Now there were instances where, like, Scott Sheriff is fabulous, and before Scott Sheriff, John Hamby, insane keyboard players. But even then I'm putting all this pressure on them
Yeah.
to learn my feel, that arrangement, to sit with her vocal and how she sang, because she was used to my cadence. So there were just things where it was like, man, yeah, if you're gonna do that, then you have to be committed to doing it.
Yeah.
And in rare circumstances, can you say, hey, there's been something's happened in the family.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Carrie wouldn't have sorted something out, but at the same time, you represent the artist you're working for. It's important, you know, to understand that if you're going to dive into it.
Yeah.
You know.
I've
So
got a
true.
question for you, Sean,
Mhm.
and maybe Mike, you'll get caught up in this too, and maybe anybody on the internet. But you know,
Maybe Poo Ninja.
maybe
Yeah,
Poo
dude.
Ninja. He said he had to go, so we lost
He's
him.
back.
What?
No, he's back. Well,
Maybe he's lurking in the shadows.
he's got a scoot. Yeah. I thought he said he got a scotch.
He had to go to
He
the
had a
bathroom.
scotch. He had a scoot.
But nowadays, I'm running into artists that, you know, they have a live show recorded, and you know, you do a record. I do a record for you. We're all doing records, and then the artist says, like, hey, if we decide to use this on the road, like, we'll get manager, whatever, to contact you, because then there's a different negotiation for masters of what you played. But now I'm hearing about artists from LA that are having some of their shows literally programmed into the tracks, and the guys that are getting hired on to play them live also have everything that they need to play live recorded into the Ableton tracks, and it's muted if they're there. And then it's also prepared if they're unable. Not every artist is thinking about that, but more and more are. And it might be, you know, a problem solver for you guys on these bigger tours. Like, hey, I will say yes to this tour, but I'm going to need to, like, make sure that, you know, these parts are recorded,
Yes.
and there may be one date that I can't make.
Well, and that absolutely worked. Like when Ed, you know, had to bail, we knew that was coming. So we actually recorded his tracks. That what makes it really difficult, or made it difficult for me, was because it was a non-set cadence. So in other words,
I
if
gotcha.
we're doing "I Will Always Love You,"
Yeah.
I would chase her.
Yeah.
I would play to her.
Yeah.
So you can't record that, and she can't sing to that, because then you're tossing the artist.
Right.
But for the most part, yes, that's absolutely. If you know, like when you take the tour, you can say, "Hey, if something happens, can we be recording so that?" Yes, we could literally have that happen in real time.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gone. No one's going to know the difference.
That may
Yeah.
be like
Yeah.
a side benefit of COVID. You know what I mean? Because I
The
think
digital
I think
age,
that's
yeah.
that's something that everybody's dealing with even still, is like, you know, like we all know Owen Barry, like he's on
Yes.
tour right now with the Chicks, and
Mhm.
they have a really serious COVID bubble thing happening. But even still, people get sick. They can't necessarily just halt the whole show unless it's one of the main girls.
Yeah.
So they have to be ready in that case. They don't have subs necessarily like waiting in the wings. Who wants to do that, or who's able to do that? You have
Yeah.
to have other alternatives ready if somebody does test positive in these
Yeah.
weird times.
Yeah,
Tech
and
is
that's the
making that
thing.
easier.
It's those guys are, most management companies now will make sure that their front of house guys or whoever's running production
Mhm.
is recording everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So in the inevitable, it's just in my case, it's like, it's like now you tell the artist chase the guitar part.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Sure.
It entirely depends on the music you're playing too,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
like if you play any kind of music that relies on in the moment improvisational situations,
Yeah.
like you're like it's just not going to happen. Like
Right.
because
Yeah,
of-
worship it couldn't fly at all.
well, the way we did it, at least, because there's plenty of worship in every genre. There's bands and outfits that have their fully produced, programmed out show, and that's how we initially built everything. But then we had to go in and modify all the Ableton sessions so that we could trigger any section of any song at any point, because we'd get through the arrangement and then one of the singers is like, we're going to do the bridge again. We're going to do the chorus again. We're going to do this again. Or we're just going to come up with something brand new on the spot that none of us have ever done before,
Well, and
Um,
dynamics, that's the thing. Dynamics are everything, because Carrie and I would cover, I Will Always Love You,
Mm-hmm.
and it got to a point sometimes where I got so in tune with her that I was just waiting for her to breathe. I could hear her inhale,
Yep.
and I knew she's going to drop into Anna, but it
Yep.
would be a long pause because the crowd
Yeah.
is reacting. And
Wow,
sometimes she'd
sure.
want to move quicker. So I would have her so loud in my in-ears,
Mhm.
and I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for that. And then I know, okay, I'm going to drop in with her.
Yep.
It's just going to be beautiful. But those are things that you can't.
Yeah.
Those
You
are in the
lose that
moment,
like human side of it too, because
Yes.
it's like
Yeah.
like that's, I mean, you hear it said all the time. It's almost kind of a cliche thing to say, but it's very real. Like that human element where it's like you look at your drummer and by the way he just lifted his arm, he's
Yes.
about to drop into a certain thing.
Mhm.
A bass player does a certain slide a certain way.
Mhm.
A keys guy has a habit of how he starts the song. The tracks guy has a certain way of how he does stuff too. It's like sometimes when you throw one thing off,
Don't give
in-
dignity
in
to the
that-
tracks guy, Mike. Come
There-
on.
Hey, listen, man.
You had all these
No.
beautiful examples I was tracking with. and
The
they
way
just-
we
tracks
did
guys,
it, they were
man.
kind of our drummers did it,
Yeah.
but the way we did it, like you had you're very much a part of the band at that point, because it's like it's not just start stop. It's you're triggering every section, or it's you trigger the arrangement, and then after that you got to be ready for any section.
Well, that's
So-
the thing. Tracks guys, man, I give them massive credit. Our guy
Yeah.
was his name was Chris Castle.
Mm.
Brilliant. And normally what would happen, he would always wait for the cue from the musical director. And once again, some things are formatted, but other things you wait to react to the crowd or what the artist is doing, and then the music director will say cue or whatever it is to start the track.
Right.
Sometimes musical director was not heard.
Yeah,
So-
no, yeah.
So then tracks guy has to feel it, figure it out,
Oh yeah.
and time it. And then
Oh,
Chris Castle was a genius. And when I was musical director, I was the guy that had to make those calls.
Yeah.
And there were a couple times where my audibles could not be heard.
Yep.
And
Oh, wow.
Chris was just so intuitive
Yeah,
and so
man.
good. I'd be like, oh God, I'm fired. And the song starts. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not fired yet.
Oh man.
That's
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, tracks guys, man, that's pressure.
Yeah,
It is.
it's-
It's pressure.
You would think it's like oh, it's whatever. You hit space bar, you hit space bar again.
No.
But be playing a live show with full tracks and production, and then have those tracks get messed up mid-chorus.
Guess who's looking at it?
And then try to get them back
Okay,
in
but
on the
here's
right. Yeah.
here's
Tracks
even
guy.
crazier with Chris Castle is
Real important.
massive fractal rig. All of us are on fractals. So Chris is running tracks and he's got the fractal rig right there. So he's got everybody's tracks, and all of a sudden he'll hear, hey, Sean's supposed to sound like Steve Lukather, but he actually sounds like he's playing over like Johnny Cash Ring of Fire. Something's happened. And he'll
Wow.
realize, oh God, his fractal missed the trigger. And he'll look at it and I'll
Yeah, that's
literally
next
hear
level.
him go,
That's
Fine,
cool.
yeah.
That's a
and-
dude, man.
Yeah, so
That's a dude.
yeah, he was lifesaver.
That's pretty
Wow.
epic.
Lifesaver.
That's
yeah.
pretty epic.
Yep.
Wow.
We had a couple of comments come in. I thought were kind of fun. Robbie says, I'm 27 now and realize producing is my calling. So any music I release will be a studio project only. I think I'd end up dead after a month-long tour at this point. Yeah,
It's real,
relatable.
man.
I think there's some people in this room that might relate to you there.
I've been
Yeah.
dead from a tour, man.
I was gonna say I didn't wake up with a tag on my toe, but I think I know. I think I know what you mean.
I've played in bands, but all my gigs have been local for 3 to 5 hours away at most. I'm very happy with music being my girlfriend hobby, my glorified hobby.
Nice,
Keith,
That's fun, man.
Yeah,
I
man.
love
No,
that.
that's
cool.
great. I mean, I'm always envious of somebody that actually can say music is their hobby.
Yeah,
Mhm.
dude.
It's that means you do it because you absolutely like love it.
Mhm.
When it's just a hobby, it's like
Mhm.
there's a part of me that's always jealous of somebody that can say that.
but
Well,
everybody who's it's a hobby for wishes they were doing
Wishes
it
they were doing it
professionally.
full
Yes
time.
and no,
Yeah.
but like it's like
Most, I
we
should
all
say.
got started in this because it was a hobby.
Right.
And we love doing it. And then you figure out how it all works. And then you go through,
Yeah, how does it
burn out
work?
for the first time. And
You sucks.
you figure out it's not just do whatever you want. It's customer service.
No,
It's-
really, yeah, that's a
and
big
it is,
thing, huh?
it is what it is.
Yeah.
There's money to be made.
When I first moved to town, there was this guy named Peter that played with Winona. You guys know who that is? Keys player, Australian guy.
No.
I can't remember
Dana.
his name. But really, he found out like, oh, here's a kid that just moved to Nashville, wants to play music. Like how many people like that does he meet a week? And he was like, man, the best advice I can give you is all of us who do this for a living find reasons to fall out of love with music. He's
Yeah.
like, the best thing that I can advise you to do is just stay connected to why you love it.
Yep.
And then I hope it works out for you. And
Yeah.
that was like the nicest thing that he could have said. Peter
Mhm.
Newman, I think was his name.
Yeah.
And thank you for that advice, Peter. And I've had to find that. We've all had to find that. It's like,
Yeah.
December comes around and there's 30 days on the calendar with no work. And we have to
Yeah.
sell all our guitars that we've
Well,
talked about.
or the work you have, it completely burns you out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
that
know,
is a real
Yeah.
thing.
But for me, I always go back to I just loved the feel of steel strings under my
Yeah, dude.
fingers.
Yeah.
And I loved
I love that.
the way I could emote without saying anything. That's what I signed up for. And unfortunately, I don't get to do that as a job as often as I would like.
Mm.
But that's really it. It's like just feeling the string under my finger is what I like honestly signed up for.
Yeah.
And being able to like, oh my God, I can make this thing do what without saying a word.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's what I always try to go back to when I get so burnt out and I
Yeah,
just
man.
don't want to do it anymore. I try to go back to that. God, I miss that kid. Who?
Yeah, dude.
What was
That's
that
why I
kid?
love
That's
your
the
like
thing, man.
That,
You're
what
like,
was that
that's the
kid
thing.
thinking?
what do you call those? Are they guitar strangling videos where it's just you like
Yeah, the
it's just you
strangling-
like
the
going.
strangling bin?
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it
Yeah,
because
the
it's
strangling
because
bin
to me,
videos.
honest, like all seriousness, like to me, I see through, and it's like it's you getting back to that thing,
Yeah, well, I mean,
and it's different for all of us.
Yeah, it is different for everybody, but for me, it's like, I was even like talking to someone today. It's like I'll sit there and go, God, I hate guitar while I'm sitting with a guitar, like
Yep.
just playing it. But really, what it was was this. That's what I signed up for.
Yeah, man.
That's what
Yeah,
I signed
come on,
up
bro.
for. That the fact that you can do that, it's like, oh, okay. So I always try to get back to that. It
Yeah,
ain't
man.
easy,
Mhm.
but that's
You ever have a hell day on tour? It's like,
yeah.
like everyone's screaming at each other, like sound check, like it's brutal.
Yeah.
Nobody enjoys the set that night. You shower off, you grab a guitar, you get on the tour bus, you sit in the back lounge while everyone else is off, bitching in the green room still. And you sit alone in the back lounge on the bus and you just play guitar.
Mhm.
That is one of the best feelings ever.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When I was out on the road, I had my Gypsy Jazz guitar. It's this really cool AJL like 503. It's like a copy of Django's guitar.
Wow.
And I also had like a ukulele.
Okay.
So that was what I would do. Once we ended back up in a hotel room, it was like
Yeah, dude.
I would literally get out that guitar and just play what I wanted to play.
Yeah,
And me being such a hardcore perfectionist, that's what it was. If I had kind of a bad night playing for Carrie, it's like Carrie would never know.
Yeah.
and
Right.
musical director would never know.
Yeah.
Occasionally, because my guitar tech Izzy was so just dead nuts, tuned in,
Synced in.
he would kind of know, but I would be in misery because I missed something or mistimed something with her.
Mm.
And the next morning, I would get out like my gypsy jazz guitar and I would
Yeah,
just play
man.
anything, you know. And yeah, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I still like playing guitar.
Yeah, dude.
Mm.
It's
Still-
amazing how just that
yeah.
tactile feel.
Yeah,
The
just-
string under your finger is
Yeah.
just like all you need
Yeah.
to hit the reset button sometimes.
Mhm.
Oof.
Yeah.
It's strong
That's
stuff.
why we signed up.
Yeah, dude. I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's something that connects you with that 13-year-old kid or whatever age you were, like when
Yeah,
you
man.
fell in love. Like, man, I remember those days of like being 13, 14 years old and just summer break, not leaving my room for 6-8 hours a day, just putting on. I had this record, Larry and Lee. It was Larry Carlton, Lee Rittenhour. It's like this
Oh,
is,
I know that, right?
kind of smooth jazzy, whatever.
Yeah.
But like for whatever reason, that was what I had at the time, and I was just like practice playing along, trying to figure out some of the outside shit they were playing, or like, just practice playing with good feel and in the pocket, whatever, and
Yeah, man.
it's those are the moments when you dial into that stuff and you can kind of get back to that place where it's like you said, you remember like,
Yeah.
oh, this is why I signed up to do this. This is what I didn't sign up for all the other BS that we have to deal with, but like this is the thing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I always try to reconnect. It's like even the other day I reached out to my brother Lonnie because he turned me on to so much music. My older brother, he's a great drummer, but I reached out to him the other day. I was like, hey man, what record was it? Like, and he was like, it was Brecker Brothers, you idiot. But that's the
And
thing.
he's your
it's-
brother.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
And that's the thing. It's like it was called Brecker Brothers. 74, you moron.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the same thing because it's like, well, but okay, I want to go back to that kid.
Yeah, man.
So for me, it's like, well, who was that kid? Well, I was listening to what
Yeah.
record was it? Oh, yeah, it was Brecker
Brecker
Brothers,
Brothers.
Brecker Brothers,
Yeah.
or it was Weather Report,
Uh-huh,
whatever
uh-huh.
it was. Then my brother had turned me on to. It was like, okay, well, I need to reconnect with that,
Yeah,
and then
man.
all this other stuff that's kind of burning me out no longer burns me out.
Yeah.
It's actually great again.
Yeah,
It's
man.
like, okay, I can go do that, and I can work on that song, or I can be a part of that thing that supposedly it burned me out, but now I'm actually like blessed.
Right.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I think as soon as it turns into also like a competition or a sport,
Sure.
is when you've kind of lost the plot. Like for me, it did early on because I had this other kid I was growing up with who was amazing, Matt Rodriguez, but like
Matt's
there was like this full on, like it was a competition, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it kind of ruined it for me for a
Yeah,
few
man.
years until I figured out like, oh, this isn't a competition. This is
Yeah.
this. I need to get back to like, why did I want to play guitar in the first place? Oh, because I heard "Running Down a Dream" and I was like, what is that? I want to do that.
That's dead nuts right there.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
there's
man.
those things that
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is like, it's great to get it in one take. That's always the session guy thing. Oh, we got it in one take. It's like, well, I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if it sounds like music, it doesn't really matter
That's
how
what's
long
up,
it
dude.
took.
right.
If
That's
it
what's up.
breaks somebody's heart and it took 200 takes to make that happen, I don't
Worth
care.
it.
Doesn't matter.
If it happened in
Worth
one
it.
take, well, congratulations.
Yeah, and if
But
it's a comp of
Yeah.
3 takes,
Yeah.
that's
who
the
cares?
thing. Like,
Dude, nailed
it
it.
doesn't
cares?
matter.
Yeah.
Nailed it. We were talking earlier, and I was like, man, I love Queens of the Stone Age. I remember watching this interview with Josh Homme, and he said something that like floored me in the moment. He said, the reward of playing music is playing music. Get into it for anything else, you're done.
Yeah.
The reward of playing music is playing music.
Mhm.
And that is one of the truest things I've ever heard my whole life, man. If you
I
can,
love it.
you can just play music, you're good.
Man, that seems like a good place to kind of cap it off here.
Hmm.
We had a couple of comments I wanted to respond to, and then we'll kind of shut it down here and do a little bit of housekeeping. But Anthony said, "I love my Axe effects with something there's something sitting next to an amp and feeling the amp in the room that just moves me. Couldn't
Yeah.
agree more."
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been getting back to a bunch of the stuff I grew up on: STP, Bush, Blink, Boxcar Racer. Dude, 100%. I actually
Yeah,
just made a Spotify playlist
Boxcar, I
called
forgot about
Yeah,
that.
man.
Songs from My Childhood Home, and it was all the stuff my dad would play. So it was like
yeah, man.
it was like James Taylor, New Moonshine, Billy Joel, Stormfront,
Ooh, nice.
Steve
Yeah.
Winwood, Roll With It, like all the stuff that I remember hearing And like I put that song, I put that playlist on, and it's like, Eric Clapton Unplugged. Like all that stuff just takes me back to a moment in time of like, okay, I was a young kid just like getting into music and soaking all of this in. Mark Cohn, the first record, Walking to Memphis and all that.
Oh my God, that's a great
so
record.
Yeah.
Anyway, so a couple of things. I wanted to shout out to everybody here. Tune in next week. We're going to be doing it again here from Nashville. We're going to have a good friend of ours, Ford Thurston. Many of you guys know Ford. And we're going to have possibly, we're still trying to lock it in, but we're going to possibly have another special guest join us, who's another local session kind of legend guy in Nashville. So you guys definitely want to tune in for that next week, same time, 7:30 Central Time next Wednesday, the 13th. Also, Shawn, correct me if I'm wrong, but this week's Revv Time is going to be focused on 100R, 100P stuff, right? We're going to be looking at that this week.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, if you can in the comments, I'm trying to pick artists to focus on the purple channel and the red channel. So I think I've got them figured out, but I would love to hear any thoughts you guys would have on, leave a comment like, hey, I would love to hear the red channel with this artist. I'd love to hear the purple channel with this band. Let me know. But that'll be the focus.
Everybody type Steve Vai, please, right now at the same time. Everybody type Steve Vai.
Just because we want an excuse to buy Shawn
gem out of the closet.
a gem with a monkey grip, for sure.
I'm into it, man.
You guys also keep a lookout for the newsletter. If you haven't signed up for it, I don't really know exactly the link, but I'm assuming if you go to revamplification.com, revamps.com, you can sign up for that there. But make sure that you guys are doing that so you guys get alerts, so you know when we're going live, when the Revv Time videos come out. We're not going to spam you. We just like to be able to stay in touch with whatever content we're coming out with and make you aware of any promotions or things like that we've got going on. When there's good deals to be had, we want to make sure you guys know about them. And again, I know we talked about it before, but make sure you like and subscribe, share this with your friends. This kind of stuff, when you guys engage with our live stream, when you comment, when you like it, when you share it, the algorithm really likes that. It helps us to kind of bubble up to the top and to reach more people. So we really appreciate you guys tuning in, hanging out with us for the last 2 hours. We really appreciate you guys commenting and engaging with us. This has been a lot of fun. I know I speak for all these guys.
These guys are awesome. These two guys.
Yeah.
Travis, not so much.
No, the rest of them. Yeah. I'll go flog myself in the corner. But
I'll help you.
This took a weird turn.
Can we take turns?
Poo Ninja said throw some thumbs up, folks. Thanks, Poo Ninja.
Thanks.
Mystery guest, yeah, absolutely. So stay tuned. We'll be announcing that as things get confirmed. But again, thank you guys all for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate you guys.
Smash the like button and subscribe for more.
What you got?
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. I'm hitting end broadcast now. Robbie Timms, always fun chilling with you as well, my friend.
Cheers, you guys. Thank you.
Bye.